Don't know what happened there, folks, but welcome to Chris Wyatt, Africa and Daba Africa. This is Chris coming to you from Central Pennsylvania. And for the first Saturday in about 3 months, I don't have a scheduled guest today, owing in large measure to the fact I've been kind of busy and also not so thrilled with the channel this week. So let's see which direction we go here. So I thought we'd do today a little call-in show to see who's here. If anyone wants to call in, I'll make a Zoom session available to folks here shortly as we get going. But welcome. Let's see who's here. If we got anybody showing up for today's Saturday stream, since I didn't have anything scheduled. Let's see. Oh, Joe Emilio's here. Look at that. Hey, Joe. How are you? Good to see you. I mentioned your article yesterday, Joe. Let's see who we've got. Ashley, the Wizard, Morton, Joe, Gareth, Stella Mans, Christian Bonsai. Welcome, guys. Looks like everybody who's here is in the chat. Joe. Just Alan's fun. Oh, okay. Okay, great. This New World, Daniel Prinsloo. Oh, wow. People just flying in all of a sudden. There's Yanni, Bradley Cook, Nigel, Karen, Johan. Hey, there's Johan. Well, welcome, folks. Listen, I'm going to do a little call-in session today. Folks who want to talk. Lots of topics to talk about. The murders in the church in South Africa. 4 people murdered in a car, burned alive. Ugh. And then a security guard shot there. And this is a church that previously where people were trying to rob and get money from previously. So, oh, Alistair says got a reminder on time for once. Well, that's cool. All right. No, Joe, it's my pleasure for mentioning. Absolutely. Kind of expect you to call in here, Joe, when we do the call-in stuff, among others. Joe will be a guest on the program sometime soon. Probably this coming week, we'll get Joe on here. And we'll talk about cancel culture and see where things go from there. Hey, folks, my apologies for yesterday's stream. It is blocked. If you're trying to watch the special feature with Giselle in which we highlighted the songs off her album Fillins Mensa, that album is blocked. It's not been released. Hopefully that'll happen sometime soon. There's some confusion over licensing rights, and Johan and I are trying to sort through that. So hopefully that'll be taken care of soon. Hank Adrianze, good to see you there. How's everybody doing? Excellent? Well, good. I'll tell you what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and put my earpiece in and get ready to take some calls. By the way, for those keeping up score, apparently Trump commuted the sentence of Roger Stone, did not pardon him, but commuted his prison sentence. Yeah, that's something the president can do. So interesting that happened. Not something I would advise. I would have told Trump and his team not to do that. That's not the smartest thing to do. You've got enough distractions right now. Why are you doing that? Nigel's freezing. What does Alistair say? Yeah, Giselle was amazing. That was quite a great stream. That's why I'm really disappointed that it's not available to folks right now. So my apologies for that. Also on the channel, I'll be having some folks in the rugby world coming up on my streams. You know, my hair is driving me nuts. Nobody's noticed that it's backwards, huh? You guys haven't seen that I've put it the other way around? Look at that. It's backwards. So I'm going to put a hat on because it's driving me nuts. Here we go. There you go. Put that hat on. There you go. How's that? Is that all right? There we go. This is from the Wilmington Blue Rocks. That's a minor league baseball team here in the States, in Delaware. Yeah, so the stream with Giselle was pretty great. Trump's press secretary, she's fantastic. She demolishes mainstream media. Yeah, I agree. That's Kayleigh McEnany. She's got her act together, really talented, doesn't put up with the nonsense. And yeah, she's quite an interesting person there. Yeah, so let's see. The elephants in Botswana, 350 elephants that have died, apparently based on the blood samples, they think they may have identified a new pathogen that was previously unknown. So yet another novel virus, novel as being new. Yeah, so yeah, that's probably what the case is. It's some new pathogen that they were unaware of or didn't exist previously. So yeah, that's the thing about the natural environment, ladies and gentlemen. As we think we can conquer the world as Homo sapiens, we forget that there's a bit of hubris in our confidence. As pathogens, little strands of RNA, little pieces of amino acids twisted one direction or another can bring us to our knees and the planet to our knees. Ursula, you're not late. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you there. You guys just getting here. The new album can be found on YouTube Music. Very good. Okay, cool. Well, that's great, Bradley. Check it out. And if you got the money. Joe says, will you be on Ronaldo's show tomorrow evening? That is correct, Joe. Thanks for that plug. I'll be on there tomorrow evening. This will be the monthly show, which I appear on Ronaldo's program. Gosh, I may have to go on Ronaldo's program and shill for some subscribers here. We kind of like hit a plateau the last week with subscribers on the channel. I don't know if it's because trolls have been irritating people. They've left. Maybe my content hasn't been appealing. Maybe I've got a booger hanging from my nose and I didn't see it. Hang on a second. No, it's not there, so it's not the booger. Let's see what else. From what I've read, they're waiting on... Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think we're waiting on the results there, too. What's the topic for tomorrow? Well, honestly, I don't know, Joe. We had a topic. We were supposed to be on air 3 weeks ago, and then John Steenhuisen was available, and so I got bumped for John, which is fine. He's head of a political party, so please. And then that didn't happen, and so it was delayed for a week. And then last week they had the stream with John, and so that's 2 weeks in a row. So this is the third week. So we were supposed to, well, 2 weeks ago we should have had this, but originally it would have been 3 weeks ago. So it's been a while. Nigel's disappearing and going somewhere. Okay, Nigel, thanks for sharing that. Let's see what else. Daniel's telling Ursula, don't be late again. Jonathan Herman, welcome there. Good to see you there. Okay, folks, I'll tell you what. So Jersey top story, huh? What's that? What's the question? Jersey top story. Oh, okay. Okay, so today I'm wearing a Bulls jersey from South Africa. There you go. This is the Super Rugby one. Oh, wrong side. Super Rugby's on this side. There you go. Yep. That's the Blue Bulls from Johannesburg. No, Johannesburg, sorry, sacrilege. From Pretoria. Sorry about that. The folks that play at Loftus Versfeld. That's right. There you go. Hello, Lynn. Good to see you. Adrian's here. There's Tom. Good to see you on the net. Tom always says on the net, being an Army guy, that's the protocol. He knows it. So welcome, folks, for tuning in. Let me go ahead and I'm going to open up the chat to folks if you want to join and call in and talk about any topic. I ask that we be careful about the profanity, and the other thing I ask about is that we also talk about relevant topics, and then finally, keep it family friendly. We don't want to, put something on here that's going to set the censors off. Speaking of censors, wow, I've seen a lot of censorship this week from content sites blocking videos from people like Tucker Carlson. We've seen the deplatforming of Katie Hopkins and of QAnon, which some I'm not that familiar with, but lots of folks. So let me go ahead and put in the chat the stream link. Here you go. So this is the Zoom link. If you'd like to call in, also the blue cow shirt is a bit disappointing. Ooh, Gareth, you're exposing your your support or non-support. Oh, wow, 37 likes. Wow, thank you, guys. That's a pretty dedicated group of folks. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Oh, we're up to 43 now. So can I get 40? Can I get 40, 41, 41, 41? Can I get 41, 3? Can I get 40, what? 43 likes. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, so anybody that would like to call in, you've got Zoom on your computer. You're welcome to call in today. Since I don't have a guest on the Saturday stream, those of you who've been following the channel, you know that this is the time when I normally have a guest in on a Saturday. I'm going to take this out because it's hard for me to hear, and I'm over talking here. So I'll leave that off until somebody calls in. If you call in and I miss it, just do a thing and say knock knock in the chat, because I have the actual window down. I can't see the studio suite and see everything going on when I put up Zoom alone. So anyway, so yeah, let me see what we've got over here. Rodeo voice. No, that's not a rodeo voice. That's an auction voice. Ghislaine Maxwell, court appearance next week. Yeah, assuming she's still alive. Ooh. Why it's, what's this note sec? There's the Zoom channel. Anybody wants to call in to Zoom, and call in today, and I'll get you on the air. We'll chat. Let me see if anybody's in the waiting room. Nope, just me. Still just me. Okay. Right. The Blue Cows jersey. I love that. That's funny. Bebop Williams. Welcome, Bebop Williams. Major deplatform of TikTok from India and US is fairly large thing. Yeah, but is it deplatforming or simply people just not using it? Amazon has told its workers not to use TikTok anymore. I wouldn't call that deplatforming. I'd call that a corporate internal policy, and that's their prerogative. In government, I was not allowed to use all sorts of things. You can't install software in a government communication system. That's banned. That's for security purposes, and that's what the government does, whether it's the State Department, the Treasury Department, Department of Defense. They all do that. So I need a sec what? Oh, emoji. I don't have a sec emoji. I should get one. Anybody knows how to make a custom sec emoji, but don't make one that has Ronaldo stuff. Make one that that's appropriate for this channel. Maybe put Africa on there and put a little sec on it. If somebody's talented, a graphics person, maybe talent can do that for me. Make me a 1:1 aspect ratio, because you have to have 1:1 aspect ratio. I'm not very good with those things. Why must everything be tech? Doesn't have to be. People are just asking for it. But I can't add. Well, actually, I might be able to add more emojis now. No, I can't. I have to get to 75 members before I can add more custom emojis. Right now, we have 12 custom emojis. For those who know the custom emojis, feel free to share those. If you've got those custom emojis out there, feel free to check them out from the members. We have 67 members now in Chris White Africa. Thank you so much for that, folks. Today's topics: Trump commutes Roger Stone. Interesting, yes. Interesting. No, I would not advise it. Also, the ongoing imbroglio about the Trump administration setting guidelines for students, international students, and their visas. If they're here and not attending physical classes, the government is saying that they must go home. Ostensibly, the purpose of this is if you're going to university by distance education, then why do you need to live in the United States if you're not a United States citizen? It's a fair question. But of course, it's more complicated than that. The situation, what is going on here? Now, this YouTube can be very touchy at times. There it is. Okay, finally. It wasn't showing up some things I was looking for. Yep, there's the cherry blossom. And that's pretty cool, actually, Lynn. I like that. The cherry blossom with the South African flag. It's a nice color scheme there, doing it that way. I had never thought about that. Infanticide. Oh, you're trying to start something there, aren't you? Gareth is trying to start something. Hey, Lezon, good to see you here. Welcome. What is Gareth trying to start? Gareth is cheeky sometimes. So let's see if Gareth is trying to get something started there on Ronaldo's channel with me. Folks, there's the link. If you want to call into the show today on this Saturday, you're welcome to. Meantime, I'm just trying to get over here. I want to show you guys these custom emojis. For if you're not a member, then you don't know what they are. But these are the custom emojis. If they ever load. What's going on here? My computer's acting all... There we go. Okay. All right. And then the last one, which I really is supposed to be, my graphic there. Those are the custom emojis, but it doesn't quite work right. It looks really tiny. I'm on the right there. Yeah, so those are the custom emojis. You can have more custom emojis depending on... Hey, Jake, good to see you there. Depending on the size of your membership. So for Chris White Africa, I have 67 members. I won't be able to increase the number of emojis till we get to 75. That's just the limit. That's pretty good though. 12 for I think 50. You get to 50 members, you get 12. 75 members, you can have more. I don't know how many more, but anyway. So those are custom emojis we put on here. If somebody wants it, Sequin, please come up with something. So welcome, folks. Welcome once again to the Saturday stream. This will be the first Saturday in 3 months I have not had a guest on, so something a little bit different. That was not the intent. Just things didn't quite work out. I had one guest in mind, but didn't work out. So listen, if folks want to call in, you're welcome to do it. Joe Emilio, you're there. Why don't you call in? People don't have to call in and spend the whole hour on the channel. We can call in and drop off after a few minutes and talk for a few minutes. You're welcome to do that. Any topics you guys want to discuss? Who is Roger Stone? Roger Stone was a guy that was working for Donald Trump. He's kind of like a fixer. And he was one of the targets of the investigation, the bogus investigation into Trump Russia. And so that's, sack of cock would be better than sack. Maybe, Gareth. Well, hello, Shelly from Cape Town. What's the weather like? Are you freezing? Are you soaked there? Lynn does graphic design. I think I kind of knew that. Ursula says Chris needs something that fits him with his channel fits with him and his channel, something to do with rugby. Yeah, no, that's actually a good idea. So that's why I have the let me see if I still have it set on here. Let me try to find it there. Here it is. There it is. That's why I have that little bad boy. That's from me in the Rugby World Cup, the thing I had done by Shink Art there in Bloemfontein. There you go. That was a caricature of me, in rugby. So that one, somebody can make one out of that. I tried to make one out of that. It didn't work out too well. Massive storms. It's cleared up now, though. Just chilly. Okay, what about the water, Shell? Did you guys get enough rain to recharge some of the reservoirs? That'd be kind of handy for the Cape Town area. Yeah, load shedding again. That's having a big impact on people being able to watch programs because a lot of people don't have power in South Africa. Ronaldo calls it rolling blackouts. I don't know why he does that. If you're here, Ronaldo, why do you call it rolling blackouts? It's actually load shedding. That's the actual term. Load shedding is the industry term because they're shedding. Oh, we got somebody in the. Oh, okay, Yanni's there. I'm going to admit Yanni in here. Okay, let me get my earpiece on because there's Yanni. Yanni, it's going pretty good. It appears you're in space. I was wondering if it's Star Wars. It was. It looked like Wing Commander too. I remember the video game Wing Commander. They actually made a movie out of it. And the movie wasn't that bad.
So, I mean, our 30 days extension is up. I don't know if our president, when they're going to grace us again with a 30-day extension of our state of emergency or state of disaster. So I'm expecting something that's going to happen again within the next few days, possibly this week, because, I mean, without them extending that, there's no real hold that they have. The NCC can't exist. There's a few things that's not able to carry on without that extension. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, exactly. They're going to have to renew this, and we'll see what happens there. Folks said they couldn't hear you. I think folks should be able to hear you now. Yeah, yeah. No, it was on my end. The problem was on my end. I fixed it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. No,
okay, cool.
my mixer was being touchy, so I fixed it. So they should be able to hear you now. All right, cool beans. Sorry about that, folks. No, but you only missed about the first sentence or two that Yanni had to say, and then you caught the gist of what he was getting into. Yeah, my thoughts on that would be that, and Master Yoda, I know you're there trying to get in the room. I'm going to talk to Yanni first, and we'll get you up here. Yeah, my thoughts on this is that they're going to have to do this, but the problem is that they can. I have to read the legislation. I'm not sure how many times they can renew this. I think they can renew it indefinitely. They just have to renew it each time.
That's how I have it. Yeah, but I think they can only renew it now once, for 30 days. So they're kind of just kicking it down the road for 30 days at a time.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Actually, in some respects, from a governance standpoint, you've got an advantage there in South Africa. You've actually got constraints on it. Here in Pennsylvania, the governor doesn't have those kind of constraints. Yeah, he's set lockdown for counties and not lifted them now in 3 months and made no changes. There have been changes, but the counties that have been locked down fully remain fully locked down, and they've been that way since March. It's crazy.
Yeah. The scary thing is, though, there is definitely, the numbers obviously show it, but there's definitely a huge increase with the South African numbers for COVID-19 positive patients. That's getting higher. So there's constant news of this office is closed or that office is closed. I'm talking about government offices now. That's closing down. The SA or the South African, sorry, not South African, but yes, the SA police station, but the Sandton police station. So, down the road from me, has been closed for deep cleaning last week, and they only cleaned like half of the office. So they only cleaned like the main entrance to the police station and the side stations, like where you pay because I need to go and renew a firearm license. The firearm office is still closed. That's really painful. So that's been a week now. So. And that's just one example. We've had water pipes bursting in our suburb, 2 or 3 bursts over the last couple of days, and every time they fix it, there's another burst somewhere else. But I think it's again just a lack of general engineers within, Joburg City Water or whatever, because when they open up the water, they don't do it in a controlled way, and I think that inrush of water is what's causing pipes to burst because we have all these pipes popping up. But we just had an issue last night where a pipe was only repaired last night at like 10 or 11 p.m., but the pipe burst on Tuesday or on Wednesday. And I can send you some videos. You're more than happy to share it on the group, or I'll put it on the WhatsApp group. But that's millions of liters of water that's being lost, So on the one side, we're sitting with a challenge that we're dealing with extending lockdown and extending this disaster and whatever that gives to the president, but yet or the NCC. But on the other side, we're dealing with service delivery issues, 101 other things that's also just not getting better. So it's just concerning, things aren't, getting better. I don't know what the right word for that is, but there's patches of it everywhere.
Well, Yanni, I don't know if you realize this, but I think maybe you're not aware of this, but the reason that they only clean half the police station is because this dangerous pathogen can't be picked up from surfaces and transmitted from one part of the police station to the other. They're magically able to control it in the South African Police Service. It's just within the scope and span of their control. So you don't have to worry about the virus. They'll clean this side this week. Next week, they'll clean that side of the station, and nothing shall cross in between in the meantime. Oh, my God.
That's how it works. That's how it works.
You know what we call that? In the military, we used to say that's PFM, Papa Foxtrot Mike.
Okay.
Pure frickin' magic, except we don't say frickin'.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get it. Anyway, it's that's what's happened the last week. In my life, service delivery has really been the challenge I need to deal with from a SAPS perspective, but also from a Joburg City Water perspective, because we've had the water issues. We had some days where we haven't had water for 18 hours, then you have water for like 3-4 hours, then no water for about 20 hours, then water for 3-4 hours. So that's definitely not a good thing. And then, you touched on the rolling blackouts. As Ronaldo calls it, or we just call it load shedding. But that kind of started. Now load shedding is kicking in at 8 p.m. tonight. It's now 5:30 here, so in about 2.5 hours we'll have our load shedding till a little past midnight. So
Now
such
this
is
this
life.
this has to be absolutely embarrassing. South Africa produced over a third, 42% of all electricity produced on the entire continent of Africa 30 years ago. 42% of all the electricity. It has to be embarrassing for South Africans that you can't even manage. Now this is a combination of factors, not the least of which is the ineptitude at Eskom. It's also the fact that they've not put the capital outlays into maintaining the transmission lines, the grids, but more importantly, in the 1990s or the early 2000s, the ANC government started shuttering coal-fired power plants in Mpumalanga and other places in order to reduce their carbon emissions, so they could comply with trying to be like everybody else, be green like me. And so while they shuttered down coal-fired power plants, they didn't replace them. They replaced with anything. And then on top of that, they had challenges at the Koeberg facility outside of Cape Town, where one of the reactors was damaged several years ago, and it was down. Then they had maintenance; it was down. And so this is just embarrassing. Instead of producing new power plants, they just play these political games. And this is now on top of that, you have to add in the fact the poor maintenance, the lack of capital investment, the loss of engineers who've gone abroad because of racism, discrimination against them in the workplace. And you've got a reduced capacity in the workforce. You've got more demand because you've brought millions of South Africans who never had electricity into the grid over the last 25 years, many of whom aren't paying for it, by the way, but that's another story. So they're not getting money for the network. But the other thing that's lost in this that people don't talk about is the dramatic growth in the mining industry, in particular the platinum industry in Northwest, which really took off. And the platinum mines, they are massive electricity consumers. All of that together, it's a perfect storm, and you've got what you've got.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing is, though, with lockdown, I mean, how much opportunity was lost with us not being able to do maintenance? And again, I didn't even read what the reason is for why we have these rolling blackouts, because it's probably going to be one of the usual suspects. It's either maintenance, or it is something broke, or whatever the reason is. But surely from the month of April and that hard lockdown, level 5 that we had spare capacity. Surely they had to wind back all of our generating power to feed the grid. So would that not have been a perfect opportunity to do some of this hardcore maintenance? Because we had 30 days or 45 days of this. Now, again, I'm coming from the mining industry. Whether I'm in IT or not is relevant, but even in the mining industry, I mean, we have millions of dollars of spares in stores for critical mining spares. So, I mean, surely they have spares for critical power generating stuff. So why wasn't that time put to use?
Well, Yanni, it's a great point. As a military person, it just drives me absolutely bonkers. Makes me want to climb up a wall, because this shows a short-sightedness in strategic planning and even tactical planning, as well as piss poor leadership on the part of corporations, on the part of state-owned enterprises, on the part of critical industries like electricity generation. You knew that this was coming. They knew before March 27th they were going to declare lockdown. They should have notified the state-owned enterprises a week in advance and said, okay, now it's time to implement your plans for your perfect scenario. What if you had no intrusion and you had all the time to yourself and all the lines were free and you had reduced consumption? Now's the time to do it. They did nothing. It's like the schools.
Yeah.
We're going to reopen the schools, but we can't reopen them for 3 weeks because we have to sanitize them. What are you sanitizing? They've been closed for 3 months. There's no virus. It's dead. Unless people were in the school and they weren't supposed to be in the school, then that's a different story. Anyway.
Whatever survives that, we want to know about that, though, because
Exactly.
anything that survives on the surface for 3 months, I want to bottle that, because we need to find a cure for that. So anyway.
Yeah, the only two things I can think of before I get you off here, Yanni, that would last like that would be tardigrades in space, those little creatures, or it would be anthrax spores. They list pretty good. But Yanni, thanks for calling in. I've got some people stacking up. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Enjoy your time on the bridge there of the Wing Commander deck.
Thank you very much. Cool. Cheers, guys.
All right,
thanks,
cheers.
Chris.
Okay, so now I'm going to get Master Yoda in here. Master Yoda, which makes sense. We just had a star theme there, so hang on there, folks. I got Beth and Paulie in the waiting room. Please be patient, folks. Going to get to each of you as we go along. Waiting for Master Yoda to come in now. And I see the Master. Did Master Yoda leave on me? Hello, Master Yoda. Are you there? Did Master Yoda get... Okay. Master Yoda must have given up. Okay, well, I'm going to drop Master Yoda off then. Put back in the waiting room. And I'm going to bring Beth in. Okay. All right, Beth, we're going to get you in here in just a second. There's Beth coming up. Come on in, Beth. You guys got to enter the room. Beth, hello? What's going on here? All right. Beth, Paulie, are you there? Beth is not coming in. I don't know where she's at. Okay, I'm going to put Beth back in the waiting room. Wait, there's Beth. Okay. I was about ready to let go. I don't hear you, though. You've got to enter the audio. Did you do that? I can't hear you. You've got to, down on the bottom, on the left-hand side, you have to do, there you go. I just heard something.
My browser was blocking it as well.
Hi, Beth. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks, and you? I look awful. I haven't done makeup today, so people just deal, okay?
Beth, in the interest of full disclosure, I haven't done makeup either, so.
Fabulous, great. So I'm in good company. It's all good.
So how's it going, Beth? What's on your mind?
I had a thought today because we went to Molly Malone's. It's a restaurant in Fourways, Johannesburg. And because they're doing a drive-in experience, like you pay $50 and you can go and watch a movie in your car and you can order food and everything. I thought it was a great idea that they came up with. But on our way there, we were driving up Witkoppen. And on the other side, there was a massive roadblock. Not a lot of cars. I think people saw the roadblock and like found another route. But there was Army there and South African Police Service and the Johannesburg Metro Police. So I don't know what they were doing. And then we were sitting at Molly Malone's and we saw probably the same guys driving back, because when we left, we saw that roadblock was gone. But they drove past Molly Malone's, which was like a little bit worrying, because Molly Malone's was actually closed by the SAPS when they first started doing this at the beginning of June, I think. So my kids were sitting there like, they're coming to arrest us. Or like, no, they're not. They just carried on driving past. But I said to my husband, you know what, all of these guys that are in these forces, I'm not buying that they're just following orders, doing these sort of things anymore. I'm just not. I'm not tolerating it from them anymore. If they had to turn around and say to their commanding officers and everybody else that they're just not going to enforce these bull dust regulations anymore, we just get so much closer to disbanding this whole lockdown and everything. So anyway, that's what was on my mind.
No, thanks for sharing that. It does raise some questions. Of course, for those who follow events in South Africa, you've had things like in the past couple of years, like for instance, a busload of Dutch tourists arrives at OR Tambo and gets on their tour bus to take them out of OR Tambo. And before they even get 2 kilometers from the airport, they're pulled over by police. And the police enter the bus and then rob them. Of course, they weren't police. They had a patrol car that looked just like the SAPS car. They were wearing uniforms just like SAPS, but they weren't cops. And they robbed all the Dutch tourists. And that's your welcome to South Africa. You've just been robbed 2 kilometers from your arrival airport. And that was, and as I recall, if I recall correctly, on that bus, they beat a 70-some-year-old Dutch man because he wasn't responsive enough. But I mean, what do you do? I mean, of course, people know in South Africa, long known that if you have concerns that they're not real police, that you drive to the closest police station. But now your police station is closed. What do you do now?
Well, this is the thing, and the other thing is, since the beginning of lockdown, it's been widely reported how combative the forces have been, to the point that people have actually been murdered. So, like, we don't really have a choice. We just have to comply, and we have to hope that we're not going to get abused or beaten up or anything like that. It's quite it's scary. It's
scary.
like living in a police state. It's not, things aren't as enjoyable.
No,
at the moment.
not at all. I can imagine. It is a police state, and actually getting a taste of that here in the United States, but not nearly as bad as South Africa. It depends where you're in the states. Not every state's like that. But
Yeah.
so Joe Emilio
Yeah.
is pushing your channel. He says, "Folks, check out Beth's channel." And then Lynn
Oh,
asked.
thanks, Joe.
Then Lynn asked for the link to be put in here. Joe, you're a moderator. Please put Beth's link in here for us. Appreciate that. And somebody asked a question. Was it Alistair? Excuse me. Alistair said, God bless. Did they sort out their issues, Molly Malone's? I'm not sure what that issue was.
Yes, everything. So what happened was Molly Malone's was shut down by the SAPs the first weekend that they opened, and then they went to they obviously publicized that this is what had happened, and there were quite a few lawyers in the community that came to their aid. And from what I understand, they actually did the work for free, and they communicated with the police on behalf of Molly Malone's, and Molly Malone's was able to open again and only do takeaways. But bearing in mind, they'd already bought the screen and, all of the things to have like a Roadhouse style dining experience. So that, it was almost eat-in dining, but you didn't leave your car.
Mhm.
So, kind of social distancing, you don't get much better than that. And anyway, the lawyers did manage to get them to be allowed to open up again. And then they wanted to start showing movies again, and SAP said that no, only when eat-in dining is allowed. So I think that was the 28th of June or something. It was 2 weeks ago that they were actually allowed to start screening movies. So in the meantime, if you were there, eating, sitting in your car, they just showed like cartoons. It was just ridiculous what they went through with the police, Chris, that they were showing some sports events on the big screen. They put up some cartoons and stuff like that, but they weren't allowed to show a movie. It was
Yeah.
just absolutely ridiculous, the regulations that the police came back at them with.
Well, and
Yeah.
what's especially frustrating for that, and what people are losing around the world, and you see a lot of people. I just saw a video earlier that was posted on social media where some guy's in a store and two people accost him because he's not wearing a mask. Wearing a mask is not obligatory where the person was at. It was the governor and the mayor asked for people to wear a mask. Now, nobody bothered to ask this person if he has a medical condition which prevents him from wearing the mask. They just started accosting these two shrill women, one on each side, video. What are you doing? Oh, you're putting us in danger. Oh, you're part of the evolutionary. Yeah, it's gonna take you out. Your evolutionary tree is gonna die. Look at you. You're a fool. And this guy's just shopping his store. He's like, leave me alone. I'm not bothering you. Well, you are. No, you're the one approaching me. You went the wrong way down the road. Can't you see the arrows? Oh my God, the hysteria. The people that know nothing about science, nothing about epidemiology, nothing about infectious disease, yet they listen like little drones. Oh, we lost Master Yoda. I was going to bring you on, Master Yoda. Come back, Master Yoda. I'll put you at the top of the queue. He just disappeared off there. I want to get you in, Master. Sorry, Beth. I want to get Master Yoda in, but
That's cool.
when I called for him, he disappeared. He just dropped off. Come back, Master Yoda. I'll get you back to the top of the queue. Anyway, Beth, yeah, it's just absolutely insane the way people are behaving, and it's really scary because you say the regulations. That's right. They're not laws. They're not laws.
Absolutely.
Here they're not laws.
Absolutely.
These people don't have the authority of law. We have to arresting people for violating regulations. That's insane. Absolutely insane.
It is. Yeah. And another thing I said to my husband, I said, every single person that is, the ones that are reporting their neighbors for like having people over, having a braai or whatever, and reporting. If you're a Karen, by the way, Chris, you did an awesome Karen impression, spot on. But if you're a Karen, or as South Africans say it, a Karen, okay, if that's how you're behaving, the only reason why you're doing that is because South Africans seem to get some kind of kick out of being on a power trip, because that's all this whole thing is about.
Mm-hmm.
It's one big power trip, and it starts at the top with the National Coronavirus Command Council, to steal the way you say it.
That's right.
And it just trickles down. It trickles down to all the ministers. It trickles down to SANDF, SAPS, all the metro police departments, and then we have everyday citizens doing exactly the same thing. And you know what? You're all a bunch of plonkers, because I'm keeping my language clean because it's
Thank
your
you, Beth.
stream.
Thank you, Beth. No, absolutely right. I feel like I'm in the German Democratic Republic, the DDR, the Deutsche Demokratische Republik, where all of my neighbors work for the Stasi and they're all spying on me. No, not my neighborhood. I mean in the country. I'm not talking about here. Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually,
okay.
my neighbors are, for the most part, pretty cool. But you know, I'm talking about in society. You talk about Karens. The Karens are everywhere, and they're just most of them have no idea what they're talking about. They're just mindless little drones who do exactly what they're told to do. They were screaming at this guy that he's endangering people. He was nowhere near anybody. It's insane. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, you know what? They were probably endangering people themselves, because their masks are not 100% barrier, you know. The mask that they would need to put on their head that would be 100% barrier would actually kill them, because it would be a plastic bag. So
It would be a mob hit. You put the plastic bag over the head.
exactly.
Yeah, no, it's
So
this pandemic has brought out the political hysteria of so many people. Listen, yesterday I was walking in the park, and there's a bike path, and of course we all know that we go counterclockwise. That's the way you run on a track. That's the way tracks are done. You don't run clockwise. So I was walking counterclockwise.
okay.
Well, now I'm not objecting to people turning around, because when the sun is out and it's brutal, I actually stay on one side of the park because there's trees from people's property that overhang, and so I can stay in the shade. So I will go back and forth. So I'm not complaining about the person going anti-clockwise or clockwise. We say counterclockwise. Anyway, but what I am saying is that this gentleman, older gentleman who had a mask on, it covered virtually his entire face. All I could see was his eyes, and he was walking his dog. He was coming back the path, which kept him about 12 feet away from me. But he made a beeline onto the street next to the park to escape being within range of me because I didn't have a mask on. And I was like, they've won. They've convinced people that the sky is falling when it's not. Now, I have no objection to the man wearing a mask. He's an older gentleman. He's probably got an underlying condition, so he's just being prudent. And I wouldn't comment. I mean, that's his privilege. That's his prerogative. And in fact, if I went into a store in confined spaces, I have been wearing a mask just for other people's comfort, even though I have an underlying condition that I'm not supposed to wear a mask, but I do it, and I just deal with the difficulty breathing while I'm in the store for other people's comfort. But walking out in public when I'm nowhere anybody and someone wants to run away from me, next thing I'm like, hey, I'm a leper, man. Let's come here. Let me hug you. I'm a leper. And we actually got going on now is people trying to create leper colonies. In Australia, the authorities have cordoned off an entire retirement home where nobody was sick because they're trying to protect them. Okay, thanks. Appreciate that.
No, it's all just propagandizing. I'm sorry. And you know, it seems like 90% of people have bought it,
Yeah.
hook, line, and sinker.
Well, I don't know if it's 90%, but it is a lot of people, that's for sure.
It's definitely the majority. Either that, or they're just louder,
I think,
or they're just more annoying.
I think that's part of it too. They're just louder. So here in America, we have some really strange things going on. Hang on there, Paul. I'm going to get you in here in just a minute. Some really strange things going on. The couple that was in St. Louis or wherever it was, where the people broke the gate and invaded their property and threatened them, and they came out of their house with their rifle and their handgun and told the people to get off their property. They've now been charged with crimes. I don't know what the crimes are, menacing people, I suppose, but they were defending their property, and they didn't shoot at anybody. They didn't wound anybody. They just told them to get off. The people who broke the property and destroyed their gate, which costs a lot of money, and threatened their lives have not been charged with anything. None of them arrested. They came to the house, they with warrants, or not without warrants, went to their house and confiscated their guns without a warrant, with no basis. And this is going on all over the country. We had yesterday in California people who went out and painted over graffiti that was painted on the streets. Of course, the graffiti was Black Lives Matter, BLM. So people went out to paint over that. They were arrested for a hate crime.
I know. I saw. I think it was like I don't actually know where I saw it, but some woman was like shouting at some people from her car, and she was videoing it at the same time, and there were these young girls that were they were trying to clean graffiti off the building. And she says, why are you doing that? They're like, we're cleaning it up. It's graffiti. We're cleaning. And she's like, but don't you think that matters? And she's like, it doesn't. Their whole thing was, it doesn't matter if the message matters. It's still defacing a building, and it needs to be cleaned off at some stage. And it's just easier if it gets cleaned off sooner rather than later. Like the whole thing is just madness.
Yep.
To be
No,
arrested for a hate crime for painting over
graffiti.
graffiti that I actually think is pretty hateful, but
It is. It
you
is
know,
hateful. It's also it's bigotry, it's racism, it's hatred, and it's divisive. And the fact that people actually endorse and support it, and elected officials are the ones doing it, like Mayor De Blasio, out in the streets ranting yesterday. Oh, Black Lives Matter. Yeah, Black lives do matter, idiot. But nothing you're saying does anything to improve it, including defunding your police to the tune of $1 billion. The largest police department in the world, New York City, with over 40,000 armed officers, is losing $1 billion. Oh, there's a friend there. I can't see
this is my freaky dog. She's
Ah.
an African sand dog, and she's hairless.
Okay.
And she's telling me that it's dinner time, but it's not dinner time yet.
She's just hungry. Yeah. No,
Yes.
it's I think the video you're referring to, Beth, it may be the video that took place in front of the Veterans Administration here in Washington. There was a photograph, and there was a black woman in a car who pulled up and said, "What are you doing?" "Well, we're painting over this." "Why?" "What, are you racist? You don't think Black Lives Matter?" Okay, here's the problem. That was on a federal building. So it's a federal crime for starters. These women went out there to paint over it, and I don't know if they were employees, but there were 3 white women that were painting over it. And this woman just starts
Yes.
harassing them, and they're painting over this, defacing a government building. Well, that's our property. We pay tax dollars for that. Also, I'm a veteran and a combat veteran, and that administration exists for me and 16 million other veterans for our medical needs and for our other needs that we have. That's why it's there. By the way, in that 16 million include a few million Black Americans who've also served and are veterans, and it meets their needs as well. Anyway, it's utter nonsense. And where are the leaders at? Where are the leaders all around the world? They just, other than Donald Trump, there's no one standing up, and Donald Trump isn't always doing it.
Yeah, I have to agree. You know, I never really was a huge Trump supporter, but every single person that turns around and says to me, "Oh, well, you know, Trump should have shut down sooner." I'm like, do you not know how American politics work? Do you not realize that he does not have that kind of authority? Like, please, just even though I'm not American, I don't even follow politics that much. I know that much, that he doesn't have that authority. That's up to each individual 50 states.
Yep.
That lies with them. It gets so cross.
No, I'm with you. But when it comes to aviation, they can shut the borders. But yeah, inside is. But here's the thing. So Trump shut down on January 31st travel from China, except for Americans repatriating. January 31st.
Yes.
He shut down Europe on March 10th, I think it was, or March 11th, except for the UK and Ireland, and then did that the next day on the 12th. So by March 12th,
Yes.
2 weeks before South Africa started its lockdown, we had stopped virtually all international traffic coming to the United States, particularly from the hotspots of Europe and because remember, it was Italy and Spain that had all this stuff, from Europe and from China. He was criticized instantly as a racist and a xenophobe when he did that on the 31st of January.
Yes.
And then a month later, he was
Can't
accused.
do anything right.
Then a month later, all these same idiots accused him of being too slow and blaming him for the deaths of people. Now,
Yes.
Donald Trump is not responsible for the state of New York taking people who are COVID positive and putting them in retirement facilities and getting twice as many people sick and dying as a consequence of their poor decisions. That's not Donald Trump's fault. He had nothing to do with that. It's just insane. Anyway.
Yeah, isn't it some TV celebrity that's his fault? Oh no, that's his brother. Oh no, which one's which now? I forget. Doesn't matter.
I lose it there. But all right, Beth, let me get Paulie in here. So thanks a lot for your comments and for joining me today. I really appreciate you calling in. I hope your channel
Thanks for having me on.
No, it's my pleasure. I hope your channel's doing well. Unfortunately, I don't get many chances to watch it, so I've only caught it a few times. So please, folks, go check out Beth's channel. Joe, if you're still here, put the link in once again. All right, Beth, thanks a lot. Have a good one.
Thanks so much. Cheers.
Cheers. All right, folks, that was Beth. Now we're gonna get Paulie in here if he's still there. Paulie, I hope you're patient and still hanging around. I've let you enter the room. Hopefully, you're coming in now. Beth is still there. Is she dropping off? Beth, you've got to leave the meeting. Okay, nothing's happening. Come on, Zoom. You got to work better than the Zoom. Anyway, back to the chat. People were talking about. There's Paulie. Beth, you're still in the meeting. You got to step out of the meeting. Paulie, you've got to turn your volume down on your computer, otherwise we get an echo.
Have you got me?
I've got you.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm fine. Yourself? I'm just trying to get Beth to leave the meeting. Beth, you got to leave the meeting. Otherwise, I have to take her out. I'll just take her out. All right. There we go. All right. Well, it's not taking her out. Zoom, you pay for a service, you expect it to work well. Paulie, what's up? What's on your mind?
No, this is Firstly, evening, and nice to finally chat to you a bit. But just hearing what the people are saying, I mean, I live in the city and work for the city where all these people, where Yanni and everybody's been hearing all the issues, and that's tough to hear. I mean, because you're hearing all these things, and it's not as if they're false. That's the problem. You hear about the Metro Police, you hear about the water department, the electricity department. It's crazy. I can tell you the other night, on Tuesday night, we had a fire in the township down the road from my station in Alexandra.
Mhm.
I cover one of the townships. And there people for 2 more days didn't have electricity. There's no city services. So when Yanni says that the water was leaking, I mean, I know that the water department, I actually know where their office is based for Yanni's area. And it's all true. It's scary.
No, it's pretty sad. I remember years ago I was in Santon and I stayed in. I mentioned this before. Stayed in one of these nice little lodges that's got apartments. You get a whole apartment. Stayed there, and for 3 days in Santon, I didn't have water for 3 days. They had to bring water into the lodge. You couldn't bathe for 3 days because the water pipe, which ran through Alexandria to Santon, had burst, and they just weren't capable of repairing it. 3 days. Can you imagine the wealthiest square mile of real estate in all of Africa and no water for 3 days?
I tell you, if you understand my predicament, obviously, from being in uniform and stuff, and can't say too much, but I think it was Beth now who was talking about things rot from the head, and the head being the national government. That is true. That is true. However, I can tell you that there is what people also fail to see, and I'm sure a lot of South Africans feel the same, is that every now and then you get a glimpse of hope, and there is still people that are trying their best in the service, in whether it's the police force, the military, the fire department, etc. It's just that those are becoming a dime a dozen. It's like trying to find the diamond in the rough now.
No, it is absolutely crazy. So it just Joe's excited that you're on. So Joe's got Paulie with 3 exclamation points. What's that all about?
Joe. One day when I get to Cape Town again, I'm gonna get down there. I think myself and Joe are gonna go have a nice cold beverage somewhere.
Well, that should be interesting. Ask Joe what it's like to be a racist piece of crap Egyptian. That ought to be entertaining.
That story just blew my mind. I tell you, I actually look forward to watching and seeing how Joe gets by with the legal aspect he's taking, and I hope he takes that lady to the cleaners, because that's just ridiculous. That suicidal line, and that's the lefties for you. I mean, the lefties are just they're never wrong, and you can never take them on a decent argument. So I hope he takes them to the cleaners and she gets what's coming her way.
No, I hope so too. We're going to have Joe on the program next week. He's going to talk about it and give us an update on that, what's happening, what his legal options are, and what the response is. But it's funny.
I see in the comments, he says on Monday his story, he's going to give us a little bit of an update, which I'm looking forward to.
Okay, that's on his channel then. Okay, don't give all the secrets away, Joe. How am I going to attract an audience if you tell everybody everything? No, but seriously, you talk about lefties. So there was a post on LinkedIn where a gentleman who runs an organization posted, and I won't mention names, but he posted an article and basically lambasted Trump and said he's pro-Russia, this, that, and the other. And so I wrote back and said, nope, not pro-Russia. And then the guy comes back and goes, well, something or other. And I responded. And then someone else wrote something. It was about Turkey. This whole thing was about Turkey. And the other gentleman wrote and said, well, Turkey is lost. It's not a reliable NATO partner. And I wrote in response to him, now this is opinion. I'm writing opinion. It wasn't I didn't write a news article. And I said, Turkey was lost under Obama's watch. And so the author comes back and says, what are your sources for that? Okay, well, first off, it was my opinion. So, it's like Twitter fact checking Donald Trump on his opinion. It's his opinion. Everybody's got one, right? Anyway, but here's the thing. So I went and found 3 articles from 6 different academics who co-authored 3 articles from 3 different sources, all professional, all vetted, all edited, all published in 2014 and 2016, which said exactly this. Obama tried to reset the relationship with Turkey, but he lost the plot, and the relationship between Turkey and the U.S. is abysmal when he leaves office. In fact, one of the articles talked about what's going to happen when Trump's in office. Probably has very little to do with Trump because of what's already been put in place. So I posted those, and then the leftist comes back and says, okay, thanks for the facts, and then just starts spewing all this stuff. And then he puts in the comments things I never said. He said, well, you deny Trump is, and I'm like, no, I didn't do that. I just asked you because he attacked Trump's foreign policy. He said, he gave it some colorful language. I said, which policies are you talking about? And he comes back, you deny that Trump has failed policies. I don't know what policies you're talking about, Rocco. Tell me what your policies are. That's a leftist, man.
But haven't you found that you can never present facts to a leftist. If you present facts, then they go off on a whole other tangent. I mean, recently I had a whole thing where, you know, in Cape Town, they had to remove those, not this time with the gentleman who was running around naked. I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago, just after the Red Ants in Joburg had taken down all those houses, they did something similar. I think it was in Hart Bay, where that illegal structure was erected, and they took it down. And I think later that night they burnt the library or something. I think someone in Cape Town would confirm it. But a person that I know on Facebook was writing how that the DA in the Western Cape, how can they do this X, Y, and Z? And that the social development, they've done nothing. And this is so, she wants DA government gone, etc., etc. And I said, well, you know, I typed a message. I said, you know, the DA government there, no one's perfect, but they're doing the business. They're spending money on social development and housing, etc., etc. She then replied to me, no, they're not. I said, well, according to the Auditor General, they're using their money wisely. She then writes a whole story about how the Auditor General is spewing a narrative for the DA, and the DA is just manipulating the narrative. I then replied to her, just a one-liner, that the Auditor General is a national function, and if they were skewing it in favor of the DA, it was the first time that the ANC was skewing anything to make the DA look good. I still haven't heard from her. But that's it. You never tell leftist facts. Don't ever present them facts. You can't do it.
No, Lynn says thank you for your service, Paulie. So I just want to share that with you. So Lynn was saying that.
Oh, anytime. Thank you.
But what I have to say too is, you know, it's really frustrating because it's funny because the so-called caring and compassionate and understanding people on the left are the first people to demonize people and call them names. A couple years ago, when Brett Kavanaugh was being nominated for the Supreme Court, the South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham came out as a vocal attack opponent against the left, going after him and saying how ridiculous this whole thing was. These fake trumped-up charges from, you know, when he was in high school and nonsense, which aren't even crimes, by the way, and they're not even prosecutable. But so it was basically a smear campaign, and that's what Lindsey Graham said. So what does the left do? The compassionate left, the left that calls the rest of us homophobes if we say anything about any topic. So what do? Well, they run a series of articles by several people. One of them saying, yes, it's strange that Lindsey Graham is not married at his age. Rumors have long been around that he's a closet homosexual. Is he in a relationship with? This is what they do. So wait a second. Is that not wrong? Is that not abusive? No, it's okay for the left to say stuff like that. And it's funny when the people who are compassionate, who are center or to the right, and concerned about others. If Paulie, you've been with this channel a long time, you remember from the very outset, what was my first concern? I was worried about, besides people's mental health, suicide, I talked about the informal sector from day one. And I said, what's going to be done for it? And who's in the informal sector? Is a lot of white folks? No. There's a lot of color folks? Some. It's mostly black Africans in the informal sector in South Africa, but across the continent. And no governments give a flying flip about them. None have done anything. And I bring it out, and nobody says, oh, look at Chris. He cares about black folks. You know, no. If you mention that you're concerned about a brutal slaying on a farm, well, then clearly you're some right-wing nut job. These people are not rational. And it's amazing to me that they get as much traction as they do. But it's understandable because the media controls so much, and they're in their pocket.
The media, I think, is the biggest problem this century, the 21st century. I think the media and social media even more so. It's just crazy. You can spread fake news or just do something to create a narrative. It's all nonsense. It's absolute. I mean, CNN, it's just rubbish. It's absolute rubbish. I mean, that's why, thank goodness, I mean, I know you've got people from all around the world, but thank goodness you've got people like Ramon and people like who are actually telling the truth. And that's why alternative media like yourself, there's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be such attraction. There's going to be major traction on that over the next couple of years. But platforms like YouTube, etc., I mean, it's just, you see how they're getting rid of all these people now and getting rid of deplatforming people. I mean, it's just a matter of time before you start telling too much of the truth and too much gets out there, and then it's the end of your story. Then goodbye.
Well, you have to wonder, Paulie, there is a interesting trend I've noticed on my channel. When I did a few videos about the politics here in the States the last couple weeks, suddenly my impressions on other video channels for all my videos were dropping off. I wasn't getting nearly, I went from 100,000 impressions one day to 11,000 the next day. And I did videos in South Africa, but I also did a video on U.S. politics. And it's funny how that correlation, also how the number of subscribers kind of leveled off there. Who knows what's going on?
Well, you saw with Ramon. Ramon did that thing the other day where he asked people to like his videos, and suddenly he had a huge increase in viewership. And then he did something. What did he do the other day? He did something. I think something top secret, since his video from Wednesday, he was even saying yesterday how his viewership's just gone completely down. So the algorithms, they are to get you, and they don't want people like yourself and etc. People down the alternative media telling the truth. Simple. That's it.
No, I think that's probably the case. And for me, it's interesting because, I started doing this thing just to, kind of promote my consultancy, which is I'm not really doing much with right now because, as a consultant, you usually got to go somewhere and brief people and inform them and interact with them. It's kind of hard to do distance-wise. You can do it, but it's not worth the time. So, yeah. For the lockdown, I've been doing this. It's interesting to see also how people now are starting to go back to work in South Africa. Are you seeing more traffic out and about because since the lockdown's been eased a bit, or is it?
Well, I can tell you definitely in the townships there was a lockdown because I haven't stopped working, obviously,
Yeah.
as you're aware. The first week the lockdown, it was with the army going through Alex, etc. They were there, and after the Collins Causer got taken out, the next 2 days are a bit quiet. But after that, about in the second week or third week of lockdown, the townships went back to normal. The street vendors were on the road. There was no such thing as lockdown. In the city, it's definitely coming back. I think there are more and more people, and they talk about threatening that they're going to get rid of alcohol again, or they're going to do another hard lockdown up here in Gauteng. It can't happen. I don't see it happening. I don't think they can afford for it to happen. They've seen how much money we've lost already in the country. I doubt it's going to happen, but there's definitely an increase of people. I mean, I'm going out this evening to go get some dinner with friends. So, I mean, people are out and about. It's definitely happening. Yeah, you do your social distancing and you got to wear your anti-corona device, but it's happening. I think there's definitely an influx, and just in our general daily work, it's picked up quite a bit. Car accidents and things like that. So it's definitely picked up quite a bit. And as we get to know more about the virus, etc., I think people are just more accustomed to it and know how to deal with it.
It's interesting because you were putting that mask up. I was going to say, Luke, I am your father. But, it's interesting because, and this, you've heard me rail about this. My frustration with all this is that governments don't have any humility. They know how it is. This is how it is, even without the facts. And then if you question that, then you deny science. But ironically, they're the ones denying science, right? I mean, they've gotten it wrong.
Well, look at that clown Ibrahim Patel. I mean, he restricts everybody else earning income, but you don't see anybody in the command council taking a salary cut or not taking their salary for the months, etc., etc. It's just clowns, man. Clowns.
Are you referring to the Minister of No Trade, Ibrahim Patel?
Oh gosh, he shouldn't even be a minister. He's that useless. Yes, that one. Sadly, but true.
Well, there's other folks in the government too, like the Minister of Injustice, Rodney Lamola, or the president, or also the Minister of Uncooperative Governments and International Affairs.
The Prime Minister, yes, Prime Minister Dlamini Zuma, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, I'm glad that you're able to eat out with some friends. What sort of places do you eat at, if you don't mind me asking? Are you a Roman's pizza place, or are you
No, that stuff's horrible. That stuff's horrible. You keep on telling me about it. That stuff's horrible, man.
Oh, come on. What do you, Indian, Thai? What do you do? Chinese?
No, I'm anything really. I don't mind. I was in New York in 2014, and I would just love a slice of Sparrow pizza. Oh, that stuff's the business.
Sbarro?
That is the business.
Wait
as much
second.
as you hate Romans,
you were
as much as I hate Romans, you probably love Romans, and probably vice versa.
Oh, okay, wait a second. So you're saying that Romans is terrible, but you think Sbarro is great. Sbarro is like one of the worst rated restaurants in America, man.
We should do a trade-off. We should send Romans your side and bring Sparrow this side. I'll be happy.
Well, I'll go for that. We actually have. Oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank now. What's the chicken place? The Portuguese South African chicken place.
Nando's.
We have Nando's in the U.S.
Okay, well, Nando's. I mean, Nando's is pretty good. Nando's is great.
Yeah. No, we have Nando's, but just a few of them. But anyway. People are talking about on the chat? There all kinds of weird stuff going on in the chat while we've been going on here about smoking and such. Hey, yeah, what about these rules? I mean, you've got the no e-commerce ban. So no e-commerce. You got the tobacco ban, and the tobacco ban is still in place. But I don't know how the government ever justifies or explains to people why it made sense to have no e-commerce. If anything, that's the most logical form of commerce to keep people apart.
And the whole fact that you got 36 million rand a day being lost in tax revenue from smoking. So I'm not a smoker.
Yeah, me either.
But if you want to smoke, go be a smoker. Go do your thing. That 36 million rand in tax revenue, if you think about a day, If they were so, you got Musi Maimani, who's so worried about the kids at school, even though they're not they're the lowest percentage risk. That 37 million a day could be spent on buying data for kids, providing them with data for their laptops or for their cell phones or whatever, their tablets rather. Mm-hmm. You could be doing so much more. That 37 billion rand a day, you could be getting alternative housing. There's so much you could be doing with it, and you want to tell me that this is to protect people with their health? Please, man, it's a joke. It's actually alarming, and unfortunately, the courts don't do their rulings based on financial outcomes or something. Finance is never something that they take into account, so can't even argue that point.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. I mean, these rules and regulations. I mean, with the cooked chicken. I mean, there you were talking about people like the long distance drivers and stuff, and people that on the side they stop to get a garage pie or whatever. I mean, in the emergency services, you get a call late in the morning or whatever. Often there's the BP or the Shell garage would go there, and guys would get something, get a cup of coffee on the way back or whatever the case is. You couldn't do any of that. It's crazy. It's beyond. It's awesome. This is communism coming to South Africa.
But on the bright side, you can drive around Gauteng and have little lights flash pink or purple above your head for a toll that doesn't work.
That's not even. I'll plead the fifth there. I don't even talk about those things.
Yeah. The last time I was there, my hire had an automatic device in it, so I got the bill afterwards. It wasn't too bad, but I remember when they first installed those, some lady got a bill for 397,000 Rand for 1 month of usage. I'm like, no one, you'd have to sit there and drive 24 hours a day the entire month, and you still couldn't run up that many. Anyway.
And you remember Helen Zille proposed the tax revolt? Do you remember that whole story?
I do. Yep.
That's actually one, if you think about it, that's the only tax revolt in South African terms that has actually worked. No one pays those e-tolls. I don't. Most people don't pay them.
Yeah. Well, they got me in my hire. Not when they first installed it, but my last time there, they'd put it in the hire. So they sorted that out. So
did they include it in your fee?
It was added as a fee afterwards. So what they do is they have the time frame when you have the contract, and then.
I hope you just paid I hope you didn't pay I hope you paid the amount for the rental and left it as an outstanding amount for future.
Don't have any control over it. They bill your credit card. It's a great racket. I was not even in South Africa when I paid the toll. So, yeah, that's the way they do it. I hate that when they put those in rental cars. It kind of messes it up. So let me ask you this question, Paulie, before I get you off. I got Tom in the waiting room.
Awesome.
So folks, a lot of folks, it's kind of distressing to hear about, trying to get out of South Africa. They're scared. They want to leave. They think there's no future. What about yourself? Do you have hope for South Africa? Do you think it's going to turn around?
So it's so funny. I've actually got my significant other, my missus is here. She's from Cape Town, and she's actually been here in Johannesburg at the moment. And our plan is to actually go to Cape Town. So before this lockdown, I was actually about to move to the Cape. I've got sort of work there in the position down there. And unfortunately, lockdown and Corona just literally bombed that out of the window. Mm-hmm. So last year alone, I had about 11 friends that left South Africa. I mean, all guys with good jobs, accountants, management consultants. Guys went to Singapore, Hong Kong, one to Australia, and about 7 of them ended up in the UK. And the way I see it is that, so I'm going to try head down to the Cape. I believe the Cape is like the final frontier. I've got another friend who's just gone to Qatar. The Qatari government with the Soccer World Cup is big on hiring emergency services workers there. So South African paramedics, you can literally walk into Qatar. And I mean, you on literally 120,000 Rand a month salary. So it's a big draw card, and they just take people left, right, and center. And this friend of mine, Anthony, he said, "Geez, moving to Cape Town is like going down going on the down on the Titanic first class." So I mean, we planning on going to Cape Town, and then from there we'll head it out. I mean, Cape Town still it's like another country. It really is. I mean, I've seen you interviewed Phil Craig and the Cape Secession, etc. And I mean, he makes a very good argument. Whether or not it's realistic, I don't know. I'm all for it. I think it's a good idea. It seems practical, etc. And certainly, if it did break away today, there's no doubt that the Western Cape, I think within 5 years, would be probably the leading economy in Africa. 100% would be the leading economy in Africa. So I'm going to start out in the Western Cape and go join my missus down there, and then we'll take it from there. But yeah, I'd love to end up in the States. I've actually got tons of family all over the States, from Orlando to Florida, New York, Boston, Denver. I mean, the States. I tried to move there in 2015, got a job with the city of Fort Lauderdale, and they didn't they bounced my green card, believe it or not, because their ocean rescue is part of their fire department, and I applied as an instructor in the ocean rescue because I also had fire and rescue qualifications for sea rescue, and unfortunately I got bounced by the government. But
Wow.
they're just strict because it's civil service work.
Yeah.
But essentially, where to? I think it's very difficult. The next 9 years. I mean, you look at France Crenier. He says by 2029, the ANC after that messy coalition next election should be out. But I mean, the damage might be done by then. And the thing is,
it's too far.
We want to have kids and stuff. What future do our kids have, type thing? So I think it's all. We're going to take it as it comes. Unfortunately, we are going to Cape Town, and I think Cape Town's still a good place to be in. But if it starts going like Zimbabwe and going like that, I think logical thing is just to get out and go create something not more for us, but for our children in the future we want to have. But I'm happy to start in the Cape. See, Gentle Inflatables is there. She loves Cape Town. Cape Town, of course, it has its problems, but it's less than the rest of South Africa. And that's where we're going. So migrating south, and then thereafter we'll see.
Yeah, no doubt. That's awesome. Listen, Paulie, it's great to finally get a chance to see you on the camera there and put a face to
awesome.
Thanks a lot for the support, man. You've been a longtime supporter of the channel. It's really cool. I appreciate that. By the way, I'm going to have someone on here talking about. I'm going to try to get someone else to talk about the Cape situation again. That's not in the independence movement, but just to talk about the situation in general in the Cape, who lives down there and is involved in some things. I'm going to hold that name back for now, but so you might be interested in that stream if it comes up anytime soon. But thanks a lot for coming on. Thanks for the work you do. Thanks
awesome call.
Thanks for your positive attitude and thanks for adding to the stream today. I really appreciate it.
Brilliant, and keep it up. We're loving the content, and yeah, the show's magic, and keep going. 10,000 subscribers next stop.
Well, as long as YouTube doesn't stop me. All right.
Cheers. Take it easy.
Cheers.
Have a good day.
All right. So we're going to get Tom in here if you're still there, Tom. I've got Tom joining. And Master Yoda, if you're still here, come back. We'll get you in. I don't know why you disappeared. Must have got impatient there. Anyway. There, Tom, are you still around? I'm trying to get Tom in here now. Gareth, Nando's lost me in South Africa when they removed the servicing of beers. Ooh, okay. Didn't know they did that. Paulie's awesome. Yeah, Joe, I agree. It was pretty cool. It's a good guest to have him on here. Let me catch up with the chat. Where's Tom at? Trying to get Tom to join. So, economy for Cape, not sucky secession. Says Cat. Donut. Marvin Haman says, if the Cape is so great, what about all the murders and rapes that are not stopping? Well, that's all over the country, Marvin. I mean, that's not like it's unique to the Cape. Part of that has to do with the fact that the way the police system is structured and the fact that the criminal justice system doesn't prosecute criminals. I think that's a big part of it. Tom is not joining. For some reason. Oh, there he is. Okay. Oh, look at the parachute there. Come on, Tom. Almost there. Almost got Tom. I see the parachute, but I don't see Tom yet. Tom, are you there? I don't hear your mic, Tom. I see you on the camera now. Audio's connecting. Okay. Tom, is that books behind him or is that DVDs? Okay, I got you, Tom. I can hear you.
Cool.
Are those books or are those DVDs behind you? Your picture's kind of fuzzy.
I think it's a combination.
Okay. All right. So
combination.
How goes
it
today,
my
Tom?
OCS diploma's up here.
Okay. How goes it today?
Good. Actually, you were talking about planning and doing stuff during this shutdown. On Fort Campbell, they've decided, well, now since they've downsized operations on Fort Campbell, now is a good time to redo all the roads. So they're repaving all the roads on Fort Campbell. They've sent almost 2 brigades elsewhere, or they're working in the back 40 in the training areas. So they're out of the way. Preparing to go to places, and so all the roads are being torn up. And I work in now it's the oldest building on post. It's a big field house there, and they boxed me in. They've left me. I've got to go get a visa in order to get into my building every day.
No, but what you're saying, Tom, is something I mentioned. Good leadership. You come up with plans. You have contingencies. You plan for branches and sequels for which way an operation could go, depending on how the reality changes. And you're ready for this. And so it sounds like Fort Campbell They may not, be expecting a pandemic like this, but they had the resources and the plans ready so that they could take advantage of it. So now that there's less traffic, they can fix the roads, and they're doing that.
Absolutely. All the gyms now are closed to everybody but active duty. And even then, they're only working at half capacity. And they're working at, after the soldier uses the equipment, they've got to wipe it down and so on. Everybody's got to wear a mask on post, particularly if you go into the post exchange or the commissary or get a haircut. Got my first haircut in a while. And the DFACs, dining facilities, formerly called mess halls, are they're open, but they prefer you to take out. Same thing with the Burger Kings, the Pizza Huts, the snack bars on post. They want, you can order and they have curbside service. The DFACs, you can go in there and then they have maybe sitting at long tables, maybe 2 or 3 folks sitting at a table. So they're very conscious of that, and they, of course, they're not saying numbers here because it's OPSEC. But I think the problem is not really the soldiers; it's the families. Families that live on post, and then if you live off post, and that's another thing they've restricted 50-mile radius for passes or for visiting, and that 50 miles is just short of Nashville, which is a freaking petri dish down there.
I can imagine.
They are.
No,
They're
but
tearing down statues. They're doing all kinds of crazy things down there.
so let me get another real quick, Tom. I want to say that if anyone else wants to call in and get on the stream, I'll take a call or two more after Tom, but just go ahead and dial in on Zoom and get in the waiting room. There's the link so you can get in. We lost Master Yoda earlier. I don't know if it was he had to go or lost patience, but anyway. Yeah, so the post is working, but they're taking advantage of the slower activity to get lots of capital infrastructure projects done, which makes sense. That's smart. Although it's got to be frustrating not being able to use the gym. My gym is something that it's something you've earned as your service, but it's understandable why they're doing it. I suppose the active duty guys have to remain fit for deployment, and if you reduce the number of people using the gym, ostensibly you're reducing the risk of people catching it. So I get why they do it, and I actually don't have a beef with that. But now that I'm no longer carrying an active duty ID card, I'd probably be a little bummed out if I was relying on the gym. But I don't like gyms. I prefer to run out on the street and be a road target.
Yeah, they've that new physical training test was supposed to have started, I think, in June, and they've canceled that because it's so equipment intensive and the soldiers can't, ramp up for that. Plus, it's already they're not stopping deployment dates now. They've decided to go ahead and let them deploy. Now, folks coming home are coming home, at least on this post, they're coming home up to 2 months late. Yeah. And then they come home here and then they're in 14-day quarantine, regardless of where they were.
Now, that's something that really I always find interesting is that you hear people complain about quarantine, and then they're the same people that complain if you're not wearing a mask, if you're walking in a store, or, they complain about this, that, and the other, or if you tell them they have to quarantine. But in the Ebola outbreak, we had medical personnel who were in Guinea and who were in Liberia who came back here, and they were encouraged to self-isolate themselves. And this one particular nurse in Massachusetts or New Hampshire running her mouth, screeching about, "Hey, this is totalitarian. They're forcing me." No one forced you. You were just asked to voluntarily self-isolate and stay at home for 21 days in case you've been infected so you don't expose others. What I find interesting about that is at the same time that was happening, all of our military personnel, including the 2-star general who went to Liberia, were quarantined at Lungari in Vicenza. They couldn't go anywhere for 2 weeks after they came back, and that's even a general officer. They were stuck in a building. Of course, the military doesn't play those politically correct games. We'll do what's necessary to protect the force, and that's what happens.
And it's interesting you should mention that, because here on Fort Campbell we have 160th Special Operations Regiment, Aviation Regiment, I'm sorry, and 5th Group, 5th Special Forces Group, my old group. And they, unfortunately, it's fairly obvious that these guys they're always going in and out. Now they're coming back in, and they're immediately going into some quarantine because this group particularly is slowing down operations. You don't see them.
Hey, Tom,
flying out.
I wanted to give a shout out to you and thanks because I wanted to, I think you caught that you had a stream yesterday. I wanted to thank people for the super chats and the super stickers. And I was like, I must be getting close to 100. So I want to make sure I make that point. And it turns out that number 99 and number 100 were super chats from you. So thanks a lot for those. I really appreciate those. You got the distinction.
I was trying to make 101. 101st Airborne.
Oh, that would have been cool. But thanks so much for that. You have the distinction of being number 100, 99 and 100. So thanks a lot. I just want to make sure people knew it was Tom that did that. So thanks. Pretty cool. But
and you were talking about water and plumbing and all those kinds of issues now. Mm-hmm. And of course, we had a lot of that problem at BTC.
Oh, you're talking about in Liberia. What Tom's talking about in Liberia, we had challenges with water, sanitation, and all those different things, and rehabilitating the structures and such. And it wasn't just there; it was at the Barclay Training Center that he's talking about in Monrovia. Also at EBK, Edward Binyat Kesley Barracks, out on the road, the highway to the airport in Monrovia. That was quite a challenge. A lot of work involved in that, and a lot of money and a lot of time. But it was important, and they still use those facilities.
Sure. Is that water tank still there?
No, that I don't know. I haven't been there for a couple of years. I was there a couple of years ago, but I'm not sure. I didn't actually go in EBK.
I used to climb that water tank almost daily just to see if it was filling up, and then weekly I test the water, and if it didn't test right, I'd have to haul up gallon jugs of Clorox.
All right,
pour in the water tank.
All right, Tom, any last thoughts you want to share with us? I got someone here going to jump in.
No, sir. Glad to be here, boss.
All right, Tom, thanks a lot. It's great to see you. Appreciate you being a loyal subscriber and now member of the channel and everything. Really appreciate you being with us here. Thanks a lot. Tom, enjoy your weekend.
Hooah, sir.
Hooah. All right, Tom's going to drop off there. And, okay, let me get, oops, I lost the next person. They dropped off. Where'd they go? All right, so folks, the link is there because someone must have lost patience again and dropped off. Sorry about that. But if you'd like to call in, please feel free to call in. I'll take another caller here before we hang up. There's the link one more time for Zoom. All right, let me see. People are talking about immigrating to New Zealand. Marvin said earlier, and before I took between calls, talking about Cape Town. Yes, it happens in the rest of the country, but the rest of the country provinces are not championed as the last great place in South Africa. Yeah, no, I get your point, Marvin. Absolutely. That's people do champion Cape Town in the Western Province as the last great place in South Africa. The thing is that to me, it's wherever you're at. If you're safe and you're comfortable and you're able to do the things you want to do, then maybe that's the best place to be. I love Pretoria. I think it's a fantastic place. Really, really enjoy it. But Pretoria has its challenges, so I understand why people get frustrated. Cape Town is nice, but I prefer Stellenbosch or Franschhoek, or even Paarl, to Cape Town. I'd rather not be in Cape Town itself. Hout Bay used to be nice, but I've been told by a lot of people that it's gone downhill in recent years. So I haven't been to Hout Bay in several years, so I don't know. Gareth says a mate made it. Oh no, he's telling Hank a mate made it into New Zealand at 63 on Workbase. Yeah, New Zealand, it's all about what you can contribute to their economy, and they're very strict about that. Now, if you're in a Commonwealth country, it's a little bit easier, but if you're from a non-Commonwealth country like I am, getting a residency permit to New Zealand is very difficult. Very, very difficult. You need a password. Lynn, are you trying to get in? You don't need a password. Just click on the link. You need a password for Zoom. If you have the Zoom app, you have to have a Zoom account, and then, well, you should probably. I don't think you need that. I think anyway. You might need to download it, but you don't need a password to get into the room. I haven't provided a password, but I'll go ahead and get you the password if it's asking for it, Lynn. It might be because of the thing that you're on. So 046847 046847, Lynn. 046. Oh, come on. 046 046 84. I think it was 847. Is that what I said? Hang on. 046 847. Okay, Lynn, hang on. Get back to the chat. Where'd the chat go? The host has lost control. There you go. That's the password, Lynn. You shouldn't need it, but there it is if you want to get in. Marvin says, understood. My gripe is that no political party, including the Democratic Alliance, has done anything to change the path the country's on. Yeah, Marvin, I'm with you. Marvin, why don't you call in? I'd love to have you call in. Thank you, Bradley, for sharing that. Good job as a moderator. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to all my moderators, Yanni, Bradley, Kyle, Hendo, all the folks. Hendo, you're here. I think you're here more than anyone these days, but thank you so much for being moderators. It really helps the channel, particularly when somebody's being a toad. It's much appreciated. I very much appreciate the fact that people have signed up to be moderators. I myself do it on other channels for other people. I don't play the role of prefect. I just kind of be a neutral arbiter. But anyway, so thank you so much for that. It's very much appreciated. It makes a big difference in keeping the chat going when people can put the links in, because it's difficult for me to find and post the links. So I'm really grateful for when people do that. So thank you so much for everybody who is a moderator on the channel. Really do appreciate that. Wish I could do something special for moderators, but other than saying thanks, I haven't really come up with any creative ideas for that right now. Gareth says, I'm not a moderator, but that's probably because I'm trying to start something. Yes, Gareth, you are a provocateur. So you're not going to be a moderator anytime soon. Oh, Marvin says, happy to call in after Lynn. Let me see if Lynn got in. And Lynn is there. Okay, we'll get Lynn. All right, Marvin, you go ahead. If you want, dial in now so that you're in the waiting room, and I'm going to get Lynn in. Lynn's coming in now. Lynn's been on the program before. Happy to see her again. As soon as she gets in. I've done the join thing, Lynn. I'm sorry if I asked you for the password. That's unusual. I'm surprised that it did that. Okay, Lynn is coming. Her mic is still off. The camera is coming. Oh, I heard a mic. There's Lynn. Lynn, how are you?
How are you?
I'm well. I should let you know that old roadies never die. They just move on.
Yeah, so now it's where to now? Into the sea.
All right, Lynn. So how's it? What's up? What's on your mind?
No, just wanting to contribute and just say thanks to everybody for being such a support. And off your live channel, your WhatsApp group is actually awesome. And just wanting to say thank you for an awesome channel. It keeps us sane.
Well, you're welcome, Lynn. It's my pleasure. As I've mentioned in the past week or so, sometimes you like today, honestly, since I didn't have a guest, I was kind of like, I don't really feel like doing the channel today. I mowed the lawn, feeling kind of melancholy. But you know what?
Well, I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad you did it anyway.
No, but I thought about it. I said, people have come to expect it on Saturday, even if without a guest. And I did say I was going to open it up to call-in. So let's see how it goes. And this has been great. You guys have been fantastic. I've really enjoyed this session. Now, I really enjoyed yesterday with Giselle, and unfortunately, if you didn't see it, you can't see it because it's blocked for the moment. But that was a great session. But this is fantastic too. Thank you. I really enjoyed it. So, anything crazy going on in your part of the country, or anything you want to talk about?
Well, we had semi-automatic and automatic gunfire on the N3, which is the main highway, down to Durban, between Hike and Pietermaritzburg the other day. Other than that, just normal day-to-day stuff, which I'm sure you're aware of: broken tooth, burned foot. Just trying to keep my head above water. It's actually very, very hard. A disability grant doesn't go very far.
Yeah.
And I was told, in the chat, it was suggested that I move to the Cape. I'd love to do that. Just need the cash to get there and a job on the other side.
Well,
but anyway,
on the plus side, I was going to say this to Paulie too. On the plus side, because of COVID-19, home values have dropped by about 35 to 40% in the Western Cape. So if you're looking for a place, it's probably a good time to buy or rent.
I agree with you there. Actually, just to explain, and I need to just tell the folks online, Get You Online means that what I do is I help small businesses get online. So it's not that I'm not a online prezi, or what's the word I can use that's correct. So no, I help small businesses get online with social media. So people don't think anything bad about what I actually do. I think I'm a bit too old to do that kind of thing anyway. But anyway, yeah, no. Small businesses, support local businesses, get them online. I mean, I've got a friend just down the road. She signed up at the beginning of July. Within the first week, she had 10 people signed up under her. It's a what would you call it? I don't want to say a pyramid scheme because it's not. It's like selling products, and you get people under you, and then they get people under them. Anyway, within the first week of her Facebook being published and online, she signed up 10 people. So, it does work. And that's something that small businesses need to think about. If you can get online and just do social media just by making ads and sharing them to groups, your business will succeed. You mustn't give up. Bottom line, don't give up.
Well, what I have to say, Lynn, about that is I had actually never made that association with the Get You Online thing, but now I'm going to be thinking about that every time. It never entered my mind, and I'm probably a person that something like that might enter my mind, but now I'm going to think about that every time.
Because it was commented, it was like, what, online? It was commented on one of your
Streams. Okay.
So I thought, no, well, let me clear that up very quickly, because that's not what I do.
Well, that's actually funny. That's entertaining. Well, you brought a smile to our faces with that one, Lynn. So thanks for that. But it's funny.
I'm an online. I don't know. What would you call me? I don't know.
You're a business broker.
Yes, that's it.
There you go. You're a business broker. Yeah, there's a lot of people doing that, and that's actually a viable business model on the internet. A lot of people are engaged in that. So it's you got to be creative in South Africa, particularly if you're a minority, with the government out to get you, against you, and prevent you from doing business with the government, and even now these days trying to prevent you from doing business in general. You really need to be creative.
And also, I just wanted to say thank you for having Giselle on. I didn't miss the stream, thank goodness. I was dancing around on one foot, enjoying her music and going absolutely crazy. She's an awesome, awesome lady.
Is she not? Isn't she she's grounded? Can you turn the volume down, Lynn? It's getting some echo there.
I'm going to tell. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just getting excited. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, so, is she not? Yeah, that's great. Is she not an amazing young lady? I mean, she's just grounded. She's pleasant. She's polite. She's friendly. She's got a great voice. She's got a great presence. And talk about a cute kid. Oh, my goodness. I'll tell you what, they better keep a close handle on that child, because I might wind up with a child in my hands one day that I'll be raising named El Jose.
Yes, no, she's absolutely precious. Little kids like that. I've got a 7-year-old granddaughter, and it's like with a blink of an eye, they go from being like that to 7 years old and going to I don't know what you call it in America, but yeah, it's like the first year of school. She's starting next year.
Yeah, first year primary. So
it's like with a blink of an eye.
Well, yeah, and then they go from being adorable, keeping you up all night and frustrating and crying all the time, to being adorable, to transitioning to being naughty. Then they're naughty, and then they're teenagers, and then they're really naughty, and so you have to deal with that.
Well, my granddaughter's 7, and she's already like a teenager. So you've got to go with the punches.
Absolutely. Well, Lynn, thanks for calling in. I really appreciate it. And again, thanks for being a longtime subscriber to the channel and now a member as well of the channel. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Appreciate it, especially on a fixed income. Very grateful for your membership on the channel. It's folks like you guys who are here today that just convinced me. You, Erica, Paulie, Joe, all these other folks, Hendo, Willem, that I need to come on and do this. So that's why I came on today. I want to let people down. And wow, and we've been rewarded with, I think, a very interesting chat with all the folks who've been on so far. So hopefully Marvin will call in. He said he'd call in after you, but I don't see Marvin calling in yet. Marvin, don't forget to call in. We want to talk to you. Anyway, so Lynn, thanks for calling in. We really appreciate your presence.
Just a quick shout out to you and saying thank you for keeping us sane. And Lizanne, please come on to Zoom, because you're a very fascinating lady. I mean, today on the news, I heard the prof, I've forgotten his name, saying that COVID-19 causes brain damage.
Oh my goodness.
So it was very interesting to have a comment from her on it. But thanks, Chris. Have a lovely, enjoy the rest of your weekend.
All right, thanks a lot, Lynn. Hang on there, Marvin. Get you in just a second. Yeah, let's get Liaison to come on if she can come on. She's in the medical field. Okay, go ahead and drop off, Lynn. Thank you.
How do I do that? How
Leave,
do I drop
click on leave meeting. There's a thing there that says leave meeting. Should be at the bottom right-hand side of the window, end or leave meeting. All right, Marvin's serious. He's got a headset on and everything, man. But he's got a beard going there, too. Got a nice little vampire gray in the front of it. I'm loving it, man. Okay, Lynn's not. Let me see if I can take Lynn off there. Hang on a second there, Marvin. Get you in a second. Okay, there we go. All right, cool beans. Marvin, welcome. How are you, my friend?
Good yourself, Chris.
Oh, man, you've got awesome sound. I feel like I'm in a studio now.
Really?
Yeah.
This is for gaming, actually.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, were you on
Because
the...
my son's in Australia.
Okay.
And the only interaction we can sort of engagement that we can have is through online games. So that's why I got all this.
Do you use Twitch at all or no?
No, not Twitch.
Okay.
Call of Duty.
Okay.
So and we can talk through the headset and
yeah,
all of that. So
this is all so much more advanced than when I was back in the late mid 1990s playing Diablo online multiplayer inside our dormitory at the Combined Armed Services Staff School. We set the network up, and we had like 40 of us playing Diablo, and we were amazed at that because it was all networked internally. Because back then people were still using dial-up. You couldn't have done that on dial-up, but it was really cool. So yeah, this whole setup now, just being in these games, Call of Duty, all these Assassin's Creed, all this stuff. So Marvin, where are you calling in from?
I'm in Johannesburg, Roodepoort in Johannesburg.
Okay, Roodepoort. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So what's on your mind?
So as I was explaining, my gripe, basically this was kicked off because of John Steenhuisen's speech or monologue, if you want to call it that he gave. I think it was on Thursday, or when did he do that?
I
think it was Thursday.
I missed that one. So what did he say? Bring me up to speed.
So he, they scheduled the press briefing or whatever you call that, because it's just him talking into a camera.
Right.
Nothing else going on, no questions. And, people got a bit excited thinking, okay, what is he going to say to us? Is there a plan? Have they got a plan to sort of change things? And he came and basically was just telling Cyril Ramaphosa how bad him and his government are. But no plan of action to change anything. And that just got me riled up because, the DA pushed hard to get Zuma taken out of office, right?
And nearly pulled it off, 11 votes short.
Yeah. And they did it a few times.
Yep.
And there were marches in the cities to say Zuma must go. Mm-hmm. And he eventually did leave, replaced by Ramaphosa, who many people thought was going to change things in the country and reform everything, but that hasn't transpired.
I wasn't one of them.
Neither was I. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's not the leader that is the cause of the problems in the ANC. It never has been. The problem is the entire ANC is a corrupt organization, and not one person is going to change them. And that, coupled with the fact that I don't know where people got the idea that Cyril Ramaphosa was this great leader, this great businessman. But if you look into his history, if you looked at his history in any detail, he was never a great businessman. He was never a great leader or reformer. So the thing is, people are talking about the Cape. Yes, Cape Town's lovely. I also like it there. But the fact of the matter is the DA, who's the official opposition party, runs the entire Western Cape. Mm-hmm. And they've been doing so for quite some time. And yet they still have these issues of rape and murder and gangsterism and drugs. That's rampant there. It's like really bad.
Oh no, okay, you're absolutely right. Especially in the Cape Flats, it is catastrophically bad in the Cape Flats.
Exactly. And I'm not saying that it's worse or better than anywhere else in the country. I'm just saying it is bad, right? We all know it's bad. And my gripe is, if the DA is the official opposition, it's quite a depressing fact that they have not been able to effect any changes in their own province, in Cape Town itself, in the Cape Flats. They've been sort of toothless in their very own city. So what hope is there of them effecting any change in the rest of the country?
No, I think that's a fair point. Can I jump in real quick?
Please do.
Yeah. No, I think it's absolutely fair. And you can't win by simply griping about the other side. That's not a solution. We see it here in the States. The Democrats keep saying Donald Trump is evil. He's evil. Okay, what's your plan? They don't have a plan. And the plan they have is not particularly effective one to begin with. So I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but they leave me no option but to vote for the guy because they're not putting up anyone that actually has a platform or has anything that they contend with him. But back to the DA. So, yeah, you can't simply – and that was the problem. I think that and not to pick on Mmusi Maimane, but during his leadership, the whole party seemed to lose the plot in which they were trying to be the ANC light and they were still complaining about the ANC, yet they were adjusting their policies to match the ANC. So I'm like, that's just bizarre. So I agree with you on that. Now, one thing I would say, and of course I'm not an apologist for the DA, I've been very critical of them from 2017 to 2019, especially less so of late, but from 2017 to 2019 I was very critical of the DA. But I would say that Nelson Mandela Bay is a place that if they just managed to get a majority, it would have been a very different outcome. Even with a coalition, a fragile coalition that was fractious because, some of the coalition partners wanted to be involved in nefarious things. Even with that, under Athol Trollip, there were significant changes in Nelson Mandela Bay. Service delivery was taking place that had been ignored for many years in places and parts of town, and things were improving despite the distractions from the political situation. So from my perspective, I agree with you. In the Western Cape, they need to fix things. But here's the problem that I think it comes across the board when it comes to metros and provinces. Much of what these metros and another person vaping. You guys love vaping in South Africa, man.
I'm an ex-smoker, so this is much better.
No. I'm not criticizing. It's amazing how many people do it. But what I'm saying is, so one of the problems with governance in South Africa is that much of what the provincial and local governments get in the way of funding is determined by the national level. Of course, the ANC controls the national budget, so they decide how much each province is going to get. Now, that's not an excuse for the DA. That doesn't mean they can't govern better in the Western Cape. I think they can. And I think, in fact, their failure to address some of the issues you've talked about specifically is one of the things that's limited their appeal. After having a dozen years now, because it's been a dozen years since the ANC took control of the Western Cape and then lost it, but having a dozen years of DA-only governance with 2/3 majority most of the time.
Yeah.
You should be able to look to the Western Province and say, even though with budget constraints from the national government, we've achieved this, we've achieved that, we've achieved that. Okay, when I talk about the water crisis in Cape Town, I blame the National Party, I blame the ANC, and I blame the DA because there's been a lack of leadership in addressing the communal taps, addressing the leaky pipes, and addressing the waste, not using gray water across the board. So I agree with you that the DA has got shortcomings. But my concern, and then I'll stop and let you get back in here, Marvin, my concern is that this isn't going to make it to 2023. At the rate we're going, this is a complete disaster. They're going to destroy the economy before then. And the only hope, I think, at the moment is municipal elections 2021, in which an opposition party gets an outright majority in major metros and then shows what it can do. The DA has not necessarily shown that in Cape Town, although they've had flashes of brilliance, if we're honest, but they've also failed. But they did it briefly in Nelson Mandela Bay. They didn't really accomplish it in Pretoria. They did a little bit of it in Joburg under Mashaba. But anyway, my point is that an opposition party needs to win those major metros and show between 21 and 23 what can be done. And then in 23, a coalition can defeat the ANC. Anyway, back to you, Marvin.
Yeah, I understand the dilemma that they've got with what is controlled by national government versus what they control. But back to your point about a dozen years.
Right.
They've had a dozen years to change them. They could have been at the Constitutional Court long ago saying, listen, we want more control of what happens in our province, right? They should have been doing this from day one. And that's why I feel that's a weak excuse on their part. I'm not saying your point is 100% valid. They do. So look what Alan Wind did now with hiring their own security forces or police, whatever they did there, to help with combating crime. They could do that now. Why didn't they start that 12 years ago on different levels and combat this stuff? and I think that's my disappointment with it. And I mean, the suburb I live in is run by the DA.
Mm-hmm.
My DA councillor, I mean, all they do is they say that load shedding is from this time to this time. There's nothing else they do, really. They don't do anything else.
That's pathetic.
I don't understand what these guys are getting paid for at the end of the day as well. We have more activism or assistance or help from our neighbors who've formed sort of a group chat on WhatsApp and have got the security companies really involved. So I don't think the politicians of this country actually deserve their salaries. I don't. If I'm not mistaken, do the DA also get paid through taxes?
Yeah, of course.
Salaries, the same as the ANC?
If they're ward councillors, if they're MECs, if they're MPs, they get paid. Just being in the political party, they don't get paid. But if they're in an official government position, of course, they get a government salary. I think it was a rhetorical question on your part, but I'm just answering it for those who don't know.
No. I just wanted to confirm that that's what I thought. But, I'm not exactly a student of the stuff. But as far as I'm concerned, so what has John Steenhuisen done to earn his salary there? He's made speeches in Parliament. I mean, where's the change? Where's the forceful change?
Yeah.
Going to court is not good enough anymore. The courts seem captured as well at this point in time. I mean, with these ridiculous regulations that we all have to abide by. There's very weird circumstances around simple stuff like the cigarette ban, and allowing South Africans to lose work for such a long period of time. I think it's bizarre. I mean, the DA couldn't even fight to say let e-commerce be allowed. They couldn't even get that overturned. The ANC had to do it themselves, which is what I'm saying. Like, what's the point of the DA if they can't do these basic logical things? Anyway.
No, I'm with you, Marvin. It's you can't rely solely on the courts, and this is the frustration I've had with the DA is that. They have to, and not just the DA, the Freedom Front Plus, COPE, the UDC, all of them, all the opposition parties, you have to be engaged in politics in communities all the time. You can't wait till 90 days before an election and have a website and have a press conference. That's BS. You've got to be involved in retail politics all of the time, 365 days a year. If you're a serious political party, you have to be in the townships. If you're a white guy and you're afraid to go into townships, then you're in the wrong line of business. If you're a black guy and you're afraid to go into a posh neighborhood where only white folks live, then you're in the wrong business. You've got to be willing to go where the people are, and you have to convince them. Big Daddy Liberty's got some very convincing arguments. He's a very well-read guy. I don't know if you listen to Big Daddy Liberty. But,
I do.
But he's very, I had him on the program. It was great, great guest to have on. I really appreciate his honesty, his clear thinking, and his willingness to engage. Yeah. We have to get more people in the country, well, and here too, frankly, we need them in the U.S. too, but more people engaged in political discourse in that way on an everyday basis. It's really frustrating to see people just carp and complain and not really get engaged in changing things. And from your perspective, what you're saying, I kind of agree with you in some respects, is that the DA needs to do more. And that's one of the arguments I've been making, because they'll gear up. And, here's the problem I have with the DA and parties in South Africa. Listen, I spent 40 years fighting communism and socialism, and 25 of that during the Cold War. And the idea was to stop this nonsense. And we won, right? I don't think we won, though, because now they're all back and they just changed it. But the DA, they have a party manifesto. That's Karl Marx's language. We don't have party manifestos. It's your party platform, not your manifesto. Come on, man. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. Big Daddy Liberty is a good guy. I really like the stuff he talks about. I agree with, if not all of it, definitely most of 90% of what he says, of his ideas, I should say. And yeah, I think if all the political parties could set about doing what he's doing rather, and that's going out to the people, as you're saying, engaging with the people, it'll be different. But yeah, so anyway, that's my gripe.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Marvin. What you have to wonder at some point is it really all about self-enrichment, or are they simply incompetent, or is it a combination of all that? And at some point you have to wonder if it has to be a combination of all that, because you have people who've been ministers in this government since 1994. They just changed portfolio. So they're an expert at everything. That's their professional career. They've been Minister of Defense, Minister of Human Settlements, Minister of this, Minister of that. I mean, come on, look at what's her name? The Lindiwe Sisulu. She's been a minister of everything except dog catching.
And she's messed it up at every place she's been. Yeah.
That's true, but she does have the liberation credentials, even though she didn't earn them. Her father did.
Got the right surname.
Exactly.
I think they're comfortable, and they don't want to rock the boat too much because they're earning a decent salary. They got a nice house. They live safely. They have all the what do you call it?
Perks,
all the
privileges.
Perks. There you go. Perks and privileges of the middle class life, if not even above middle class, because now they're politicians. And I think it's just too comfortable for them. So why change it?
No, I agree with you, and I think that's part of it because the system works for them. You know, it's funny how Cyril Ramaphosa can come on television and say, "Our economy is colonial and racist," and wait a second, Rocco, you got $450 million out of the economy.
Exactly.
So now that it's worked for you, it's bad for everybody else. Okay, I see how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So listen, hey, Marvin, Joe Emilio is stealing my thunder here. He says, Chris Wyatt, you've inspired me to do a call-in show. I hope people will take part. Would love for the guests you had tonight to be on. We'll arrange and let people know. Sub to my channel. Okay. He winks. Now, folks, go check out Joe's channel. Joe's got an interesting channel. He's got some great comedy on there too.
I've seen Joe. Yeah. I've listened to him in a couple chats as well.
Cool beans. Hey, Marvin, if you don't mind me asking, can you tell me what it is you do in life? I mean, are you like a super rich cadre or what's your deal?
No. Yeah. That would make sense because I'm going on about the DA, right? No,
just teasing.
I'm a web developer.
Okay.
I build websites for a living at the moment. I was employed by a company until June, and because of downsizing, because of this coronavirus, I was downsized. I was retrenched. But I have my own business that I started up in May because I saw the writing on the wall. I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing now. Yeah.
But you're probably going to be okay, right? I mean, you've got mad skills, so you're going to be good.
Well, running a business is tough, because it's not just about the skills. It's about now actually building a business, which is a challenge on a daily basis. But I think I'll be okay. I'm really worried about where our country is going. I cannot see the end of all this. Disaster. It's like we're marching forwards into a disaster. I'm very worried about my children's future, and what it's going to be like to be a retiree in a country that's gone to shit. You know what I mean? I saw some people chatting on the YouTube chat just now about the age limits and so on, about trying to immigrate, all the rest of it. Yeah, so I don't know. I think the best hope for people that are actually staying in South Africa, and this is what I'm going to try my best to do here, is to be completely self-reliant. In other words, my electricity, my water, everything, I must be completely self-reliant and try and secure the property where I live, or the area or the neighborhood that I live in, at least to the best of our ability. That and sort of leave the government to stuff everything else up until one day maybe it changes course, and maybe my children can leave the country and go build a life somewhere else. I don't know how else to do it, how else to survive in this country.
That's just crazy, man. That sucks that people have to think that way. I mean, I can't imagine, although my country's getting a little crazy at the moment, but I can't imagine, thinking I want to leave my country. I mean, I've lived all over the world, and there's a lot of charm to a lot of places, and really enjoyed living around the world. But I'm an American, and if I'd have to give up my Americanness, I'd be kind of bummed. So I really empathize with South Africans. That's not a prospect that people should have to look forward to.
My brother-in-law is Afrikaans, right?
Okay.
And he loves this country. He's one of those Afrikaans guys that this is his home, this is where his family is, and he's got skills that he could walk into Australia, New Zealand, many countries. Mm-hmm. He's got a couple of trades he's qualified in, runs his own business, but I kept saying to him, why don't you leave? You've got children, you've got the skills, you can get. And he's like, no, this is home, this is my country. He's one of those guys. But a few weeks ago, he spoke to me and said he's getting prepared to leave. He's trying to make a plan so that he can leave now.
Oh, wow.
That's how bad it is. Like for somebody like that to do a full 180, and he's hoping to actually go to Texas, because his skills, he's got something that maybe he can line up there.
Now, the ANC doesn't seem to have any objections to the fact that a lot of South Africans want to immigrate emigrate from the country, and they've never had an issue with it in the past. But they're missing the boat here. Not only are you losing talented people, but what I'm saying is they never complained when they thought it was mostly white South Africans. But from my experience, lots of black South Africans, lots of coloreds and Asians have been leaving South Africa in droves as well, for the reasons you've just talked about. And that's not something to hang on your shingle or put on your CV. What did I accomplish as president? Well, I had the highest emigration rate in the history of my country. More people left the country than came in the country when I was here. So that's not something you want on your CV.
No, absolutely not.
So let me
I see there's quite a few comments in the chat here about what we've been talking about.
Let me deal before we get to that with, I got a super chat, so I got to recognize that, okay?
Yes.
Christo, so sorry about Marvin. Christo says, in my opinion, why is there not a vote of no confidence in the ANC referendum? Because in order to have a vote of no confidence, I presume you're talking about in Parliament, and you have to have enough people to floor it to get it tabled. And then once you have the motion, it's got to be voted on. There's not any really point. It would just be political grandstanding and showboating for the DA or opposition parties to hold a vote of no confidence, because there's no way it's going to win. It's just not going to happen. As far as a referendum, that's a completely different story. Good question, though, Christo. Thanks for it. Yeah, Marvin, what's some of the chat you wanted to get to? There's some of the things I saw there as well.
No, I think people have been referencing my name and your name, and it's very difficult. You're obviously the guy hosting, so you're used to this. It's not easy for me to look at the questions or what people are saying in the chat and try and listen to what you're saying, or to actually speak at the same time. There's just something about variable vision. I'm not sure what that's about.
Let me see if I can find where that was at. Variable vision said, problem is homesteading won't help if the government shows up to expropriate your property.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no, that is a very good point. But folks, as I've been talking about all along, the thing to worry about is not just your property, your physical property, your land, but you need to worry about your bank accounts. You need to worry about your cars. You need to worry about any property. And here's the thing, and Marvin, this is what I share with people. Today, it's the ANC. Let's say that in 20 years, if expropriation is approved, the government of the country is the PNQ. So whoever the PNQ is, they're ruling South Africa. The ANC, the PNQ, the DA, whoever has this on the books will use that law to cow their opponents. They'll be used to persecute their opponents. So if you dare to stand up against the government of the day for doing something you disagree with, they'll threaten to take your property away, or they'll just take it, and you'll be penniless, and you'll be stuck. That's the problem with such laws like this. They're totalitarian, and in a democracy, there's no place for it.
Yes, and yeah, I also think, my personal way to get around all this stuff is I really don't listen to these illogical laws. They're irrelevant to me. I really don't. Somebody needed, I'm not going to say who it was because I don't want to call them out, but somebody was asking for vape products. Mm-hmm. And so vape shops are closed, but here we are vaping. Mm-hmm. And I had a spare device and some spare juice, and I just sent it to them via courier. Mm-hmm. The courier cannot check every single bag that is put into the truck and sent to a different province. Like, I don't understand why people are sticking to these laws. If you need to travel between provinces, just make up some story. No, I'm going to this place. I'm going to that place. And I have more respect for people who have kept their businesses open in defiance of the lockdown than I do of people who follow the rules and close their businesses, because the guy or girl that is, or woman that is rather taking the risk of getting a fine, but trying to put food on the table for their family and trying to keep their staff employed, that's a respectable person. They're fighting the good fight as far as I'm concerned, and I will support them now and in future in whatever way I can. Whereas the guy who says, I'm going to listen to the rules,
right,
and close my shop for no reason, I believe that's nonsense. And that's something, for example, the DA could have done. They could have said, in the Western Cape, we're not going to prosecute you. Sell your tobacco products.
Yeah.
It's not against the law. You can't get locked up. You can get fined, and we're not going to prosecute you for those fines. I'm just giving a stupid example. Okay, I'm not a lawyer.
But there's merit to it. It's a good example actually to make people think about it. But I've got to get this comment in because this has got to be the comment of the day, Marvin. You're going to love this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been very critical of Patricia DeLille over the years, and so I love this comment. So Willem Wiekelspe says Patricia DeLille is a prostitute. Pan-African Congress, ANC, Independent Democrats, Democratic Alliance, and now an ANC cabinet minister while leader of the Good Party. That is the line of the day. I'm gonna steal that, Willem. That's really good. A prostitute. No, exactly right. She's damaged and destroyed one party after another. She is damaged goods. Why Helen Zille ever thought it was a wise idea to bring Patricia DeLille into the party? And I've heard the arguments. Well, because she's colored, that means coloreds will vote for the DA. Hey, if you haven't been paying attention, who do you think does vote for the DA in the Western Cape? Coloreds, who are 50% of the population. Otherwise, the DA wouldn't be in power. So you don't need Patricia DeLille to get colored votes if that's why you're doing it. But anyway, so she's toxic. She's just a malcontent who doesn't get her way. She takes her toys and goes from one party to the next.
Yeah, to get the colored vote, you just have to help the colored people.
Well, there you go. Well, there's a novel concept, Marvin.
It's not about the color of the person standing in front. I'm sorry, but I know that our politicians love to talk about race and how that defines this country. But I'm sorry, it doesn't. I've lived here almost my entire life. I've only spent, let's say, in total 12 months not living in South Africa. Mm-hmm. And every single day I interact with people of all races, and I never have problems with them. Because even, like, people complain about racism, okay, today in South Africa. Mm-hmm. And I've told this to my children. My daughter's 18 years old. And I've said to her, your classmates in high school that are complaining about racism have no idea what racism is.
They've never experienced it.
Think it's racism. That is not racism.
Yep.
A child will say something, call somebody a name, not understanding the true meaning of it. They're not being racist. They're repeating words they've heard from somewhere else.
Yep.
I've been shot at because of the color of my skin. How can you come and say somebody called me a name and say that's not racism?
No.
Grow a pair of balls. You know what I'm saying? Grow up a little bit. But in actual fact, when you walk around in this country every day, there is no racism. There's one or two incidents that the media loves to blow up to try and create noise and panic and have people sit in front of their TVs watching the news and reading their articles because they want to make money. But in actual fact, this country is actually, normal people in this country are actually just nice to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So.
No, I agree with you. No, it's something I always make the distinction about, Marvin, and I've been making for decades in this country because we're talking about people who didn't grow up under segregation, whether it's apartheid or segregation here in the States. They didn't have to go through court order busing. They didn't have to go through all these different things that people actually experience these real things are. But someone calls you a name and you call them racist because of it. Now, the motivation behind it could be racist, but just being called a name doesn't mean the person's racist. And in fact, a lot of what people call racism, it disturbs me, is usually it's bigotry. Bigotry is learned behavior. Bigots learn the wrong things about other people, and then they believe them. And learned behavior can be unlearned. It may be difficult, but can be unlearned. But racists, the true people that think one race is better than other, I have issues with them because last time I checked, there's just one race. It's Homo sapiens. All the other ones have been wiped out. There's no other hominids, just us left. So I have an issue with that. Race is an artificial construction. Yeah. It's just an effort to demonize the other. And those people, that's in their heart. People who are really racist, it's in their heart. You can't change it. But bigotry is not the same as racism, and that distinction is lost on most people. And that bothers me because you see people, oh, he's racist because he said this. No, he's just ignorant. He's stupid. And we can talk to him. And we can change his mind. But anyway, it's really frustrating. But I agree with you. When I'm in South Africa, but I'll tell you, Marvin, when I'm in South Africa and I hang out with black folks, and I'll start talking about race, and they're like, shh, you can't talk about that. Don't talk about that here. And I'll hang out with white South Africans, like, don't talk about that. You can't talk. Listen, if you don't talk about this stuff, how are you going to solve anything? How are you going to get together if you never talk about these issues? Don't be afraid of the issues. There's no reason to be afraid of it. There's only a few truly evil people in this world, and they are out there. But there's only a true. Most people just want to get along. They want to get through their lives. They want to raise their kids. They want a nice house, a car. They want to enjoy life. They want to take holidays.
Yeah,
they want to make a contribution. And that's regardless of where people come from. And they want a decent education, and they don't want their kids to go to pit latrines to use the toilet when they're in school.
Let's be honest. If there was a true racist in South Africa, a true racist, okay, that, like you described, in their heart, they are truly racist. They hate people of a different color, okay? And that's the basis of their hate, just the color of your skin. That person, those people, have left, the majority of them have left this country. Yeah. Because if you really hate the person of that, you are now ruled, the ruling government, is all the people that you hate. Right? How can you stand living here? You'd have left. And so that number is tiny. So as far as I'm concerned, it's irrelevant. That Adam Katsavelos, he was shouting at an empty beach. He was talking to nobody, but the news made and people took offense. If you take offense to somebody saying a word and it's not even at you, like you got other problems that you need to deal with.
Yeah.
Get the chip off your own shoulder. It's not Adam Katsavelos that's making you angry. It's you that you've got a bigger chip on your shoulder. He's talking to an empty beach, literally. Yeah. He's not even saying it to an individual. So the words thing for me is just a big joke, and it's all to do with media wanting attention, because it's the attention economy. Lynn, I am not too young to have an 18-year-old daughter. I have an 18-year-old daughter.
That's interesting. And now, on line with what you said there, we'll wrap up here shortly, Marvin. But in line with what you said, I've said the same thing about Zimbabwe. Now, no offense to Lynn, because she's from Rhodesia/Zimbabwe and other Rhodies. But the reality is that most of the people who were actually genuine racist in Rhodesia left the country in 1980. They didn't want to be ruled by the ZANU. They went under Mugabe. And where did they go? Most of them went to South Africa. Now, that doesn't mean that all the people who were white, who left Zimbabwe in 1980 were racist. Not even implying that at all. So please, nobody infer that. What I'm saying is that if they were racist, they by and large left. All the white Zimbabweans that I've known since 1980 onwards have been Zimbabweans first, not Brits. Even if they had a dual passport, they've been Zimbabweans, and they love their country. They love what it's about. And they didn't pine for the days of Ian Smith, most of them. Most of those people left the country. They contributed to a new Zimbabwe. But what would happen? They were demonized as colonialists, even though most of them didn't come there until 1945 and afterwards. But it's the same sort of thing. It's just really frustrating. I did want to ask you this question real quick, because you talked about your brother being Afrikaner, but your surname is Haman. Is that German or Dutch? Do you know the origin? It's German.
It's German, yeah.
That's what I thought.
So it's my grandfather's surname. My great grandfather came from Germany to Southwest Africa, and then from Southwest Africa, his son, so my great grandfather, settled in Stadtreim. So my family, both sides of my family, my mother and father's side of the family, they're from what used to be called the Transkei. Now it's called the Eastern Cape. That's originally where my family's from. And interestingly enough, my cousin, one of my many cousins, because it's a huge family, my grandfather was one of 24 children.
Oh, good Lord. I thought my mother's one of 13. I thought that was impressive, but that 24, that's too much.
And my mother, so she's one of also 13, same as your mother's. So we've got a huge family. So my cousin did she tried to get a family tree going, and she managed to trace a great grandfather back to the village in Germany. And she found his details in a book in a church in a village in Germany. They went there and they found the thing. This is quite an interesting journey that she had to go on to find all of this stuff out, because a lot of the records in South Africa going that far back are not kept properly. And also because of apartheid and a white man having a different color or different race wife, they had to sort of try and hide it from the authorities, or they'd get arrested and all that jazz. So it's a very interesting history there. Yeah.
No, you find.
But yes, it's German. German.
That's what I
Long
thought.
story.
I was
Sorry.
going to say you find peppered in Namibia, in Botswana, and in South Africa a number of folks with German surnames who have mixed heritage because the Germans who came to Namibia mixed with some folks. Some of them did, and then those families moved around Southern Africa. So you find that on occasion. I was curious about the surname because it looks like a German name. I know folks with that surname. So kind of cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. No, I'm a family historian. I do research in genealogy, so it's always something that interests me, the etymology of people's names. So anyway, all right, cool. Listen, hey, Marvin, anything else you want to share? You have some great thoughts. I really appreciate you've been a great and entertaining guest on here. But you do not win first prize for the most interesting background. Yanni wins that with his, wing commander background.
Okay. No. Last thoughts? No, I think I've complained enough. I'm not going to complain anymore. I just think, our politicians are one problem, but the actual people in South Africa are actually great people.
Yeah.
We've got a great country that has all it actually needs to be an even greater country, or do much better for the people in this country. And most of us, as you said, just want to actually work hard and provide for our families and leave something better when we leave the earth. That's what most of us want. But the politicians, unfortunately, are trying their level best to prevent us from doing it so that they can get a bigger piece of the pie. And hopefully that changes soon. And if people have ideas of how we can actually change it, work around the politicians, I'd love to hear more of those ideas.
No, I'm with you. Absolutely. It's you're spot on with it. Now, the last question I'll ask, and then I'll let you go. This is the most important question I've asked you yet. Are you a rugby fan?
Yes, I watch rugby.
Okay.
I don't know if I qualify as a fan, right?
Okay.
But I used to really watch rugby a lot. I used to be really into it. A lot of sports, but now I don't know. I lost a little bit of interest in the game. I think the Super Rugby just threw me a bit. And now I'm a lot more into MotoGP, UFC, boxing, and funnily enough, strangely enough, darts. I enjoy that. That's a sport I get to appreciate.
You're the second person I've had on that's talked about darts, and I'm like, that's a sport? I guess I didn't know that. That's the second person talking about darts. For me, it's something you do when you get pissed in a pub. You toss them at the wall.
It takes experience, and if you're interested in trying to see what's interesting, the end of every year, literally the end of December, and then I think the final for the World Championship is on New Year's Day or the day after New Year's Day, somewhere there. They have the competition in London every year. It's really just watching it on TV. The atmosphere is amazing.
Cool.
And the level of competition is great as well. So if you can get to watch that, you'll understand where the attraction comes from.
Cool beans. All right. Well, hey, Marvin, thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate you tuning in. And how long you been with me on the channel? Because I've seen your name before, but I didn't. You don't chat a lot, so.
Yeah, I'm subscribed to your channel now for a few weeks, at least a few weeks, more than a month, I think, maybe.
Okay.
I pop in now and again. What happens is, a lot of the time when I'm listening, it's difficult for me to engage because what I'm doing is I'm dual tasking. I'm listening to you because I think you're late, like 9ish, 9:30, I think is the time your
most
stream
of the time,
is on in the week. So a lot of the time I'm listening while I'm working. So I'm working, coding, whatever, and I've got you playing in the background, listening to what you've got to say. So yeah, I don't partake in the chat a lot, but I just had a gripe that I really wanted to get out. So tonight I was actually
no. I'm glad you did. It's great to get your chat in there, and then I did address it, and it was even better to have you call in. I really appreciate calling in. Thanks
You're
a lot,
welcome.
man.
Thanks for hosting this, Chris. I appreciate it as well. Yeah, I appreciate what you are trying to do. What you are doing, I should say.
Well, thanks. One last question: how did you find out about me? Did it pop up in your stream, or were you watching another program, or what?
Oh, I watch so much stuff.
You watch so much stuff.
It could have been on Ramon's channel. It could have been on the Telegram thing. I'm not sure.
Okay, just curious. All right, cool.
Somewhere, yeah.
All right,
Or YouTube popped up and told me about you. Maybe that's it.
Ronaldo's always complaining that YouTube doesn't promote, but I mean, it does do a little bit of promotion, but it's just a question whether it pays off or not. YouTube promoting yourself.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah.
Well,
people must like your. They must do the thumbs up thing because it actually does. It does help in the long run.
Oh, it does. It absolutely does. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cool beans.
Thanks, Lynn. Thanks,
Marvin.
John. Thanks, Kat. Thank you, Chris. Nice chatting. Enjoy
right.
your evening, everybody. Ciao.
All right. There you go, folks. Marvin, drop off here in just a second. All right. There you go. Wow. Thank you all so much. Let me just make sure no one's left waiting to come in. Okay, yeah. So I'm not going to take any more calls. We're gonna shut down here shortly, ladies and gentlemen. Why is my camera frozen? My camera's frozen now. That's weird. Hang on a second, folks. Something's weird. I got bumped out of the meeting. There we go. Okay, so I'm back. Give me a second here. What is going on with this thing? Okay, there we go. Folks, thanks a lot for tuning in. This has really been great today. I really enjoyed it. As you know, on Saturdays, I normally have a guest on a topic. And then that's in addition to the special features I do periodically, but usually have a regularly scheduled guest. First time in 3 months, I didn't bring a guest in on a Saturday. And wow. This was quite interesting. I hope you found it informative and entertaining. I enjoyed as well interacting with subscribers and followers on the channel. So thank you so much for that. Excuse me. Sorry I didn't get more of the chat in, but when I have a guest in like this, it's difficult to get all the chat in because I'm taking one call after the other. So there was some really good chat out there. Thanks, folks, for your comments in the chat. I saw some of these things, and I didn't get to all of them. So thank you for sharing nonetheless. But you guys chatted amongst each other, so folks in the chat saw it. But yeah, this was pretty cool. What was that? Testicular fortitude. Rahman has an absolutely brilliant way with words. Lezan says. Yeah, I thought Lezan was going to call in, but I guess she didn't. Okay. Eddie Tube says, I don't care what person his skin color is. I like good, honest, decent, hardworking, law-abiding people. So if a person is a real thug and I don't like him, he's back. And does that make me racist? No, it doesn't make you racist. If you're judging people on the content of their character and their behavior, that has nothing to do with race. So you're not a racist. I'm sure that was a rhetorical question, though. I was about to say, Chris, what were you about to say, Morton? And let me catch up with anything else here. Yeah, Marvin was fantastic. That's great. And then Kat says, thanks. You're a rock star. You're welcome. And Hank, Marvin, you heard some companies use RDR2. Huh. And all right, cool beans. Yeah, folks, this was a lot of fun. I really appreciate everybody tuning in today. Let's see. So just as a reminder, to let you guys know, I've got some upcoming guests, of course, including Donald Stanford, former USA Sevens Eagles rugby player, rugby star. He'll be joining us. Now, Donald is unusual because he's from South Africa. He came to the United States as a young man and then wound up playing for the U.S. national team on the sevens side and later became a broadcaster. And so he's the broadcaster for the Colorado Raptors. They used to be in the Major League Rugby, but they've left that league now. He also does broadcasting in Major League Rugby, as well as the HSBC 7 series. He broadcasts all over the world, attends all the tournaments, or most of the tournaments, and does a great job broadcasting the sevens. And beyond that, most recently, he was in the broadcast booth for the Rugby World Cup. In fact, he was present for the Springboks Canada game, which took place in Kobe, and I was there and saw him along with his broadcast partner, Joel Stransky. So Donald Stanford and Joel Stransky were broadcast team partners for the World Cup. I think they covered 8 or 9 games in the pool stage. Anyway, Donald will be my guest on Tuesday this week coming up, so please tune in for that, folks. That should be a fascinating conversation. And Donald's kind of like me. He makes coffee nervous. The guy is full of energy, can talk 1,000 miles a second. So, but he knows how to do broadcast, so he'll slow it down for that. But Dolan will be a fantastic guest. Really looking forward to Dolan Stanford being on the program. Additionally, I've also asked Blaine Scully, who a former USA Eagle on the 15 side and former team captain, and now in the motivational field and leadership and doing things like that in his post-rugby career. But Blaine I'll have on the channel sometime soon as well. In addition, I did mention that David Otto will be on here talking about counterterrorism and national security. And then the inventor of the Sling aircraft from South Africa will be my guest most likely sometime in the very near future. Now, that one's not locked down. Again, my apologies for folks that we missed Nadine. You're not the only one who's disappointed. I was really looking forward to Nadine being on the program here this past Wednesday, but that didn't happen. So I've just kind of put a place marker to August. We're trying to sort out if and when she will actually be on the program. But in the meantime, we're trying to get other artists, other musicians, as well as people from the rugby world. I mentioned I'll reach out to some other folks, like, for instance, I'll try to get a hold of Nigel Owens to see if I can get him on. That might be hard, but because he's very popular and is very busy with his social media, even though it's lockdown. And then if I can, maybe Jaco Piper would be a good guest on here. So I'll try to get folks like that on. If you got suggestions for guests, let me know. I'm happy to entertain them and get people on the program. So I really do appreciate folks tuning in to the stream today on a Saturday. Actually, you guys don't know this, but I've had a bit of a headache the entire time. Don't know if it's because I'm dehydrated from mowing the lawn this morning, or I just need to take a tablet or something like that. We don't use paracetamol here in the U.S., so I'll use Tylenol or something like that. But anyway, please not the cronies. Who are the cronies? Who are we talking about, Bebop Williams? Yeah, Bebop, you said something earlier I wanted to mention in the broadcast, so let me get that back. I saved that comment. Bebop Williams earlier said, people will do anything just to belong. Shame. No, that's true. I think that's a very true statement. People want to be part of the in-group. It's part of human nature as Homo sapiens. We are social people, and as a people, there are individuals who don't always follow these traits, but as a people, as a species, we want to be part of a community, and there's reasons for that. Whether it came from surviving saber-toothed cats or other creatures that were trying to take us out, or roving bands fighting against us, we tend to cluster as Homo sapiens into groups, and we form relations. And the fact that we can speak and we can think makes these much more complicated social interactions. So people do want to be part of the in-group, and it is the nature of people to try to be part of it. It's a shame when people will do anything to be part of that group, including attack others, but that does happen. So that was a good point. So Erica, I never got to your comments, and Ben, I didn't get your comments in today. What about Donald Trump, Ben? What's your question? I hear he's done his garage job. Are you talking about the brew? I haven't seen the brew here today. Was the brew here? I don't know if the Bebop says, but Chris, you still have to think with your own brain. Absolutely, you do. You absolutely do. I agree. Get Donald Trump on. Oh yeah, get Donald Trump on the stream. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have any ties to Donald Trump, and I've been an outspoken critic of his at different times. All right, folks. Thank you so much. God bless you all. I really appreciate you tuning in today. And I'm going to go ahead and close it now. And I don't think I'll do a Stray Voltage later on today. But tomorrow I will be on Ronaldo host program, the Sunday service. Ronaldo and I will be talking about geopolitical topics, about South Africa, the U.S., and events going on around the world. So please tune in tomorrow. I'll also do a Stray Voltage stream tomorrow as well. And stay tuned for prepared videos. I've got a couple videos in mind that I'm ready to make. And that's what's coming up, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to all my guests. Thank you so much to those who called in. You made this a truly interesting stream. I really, really enjoyed it. Thank you, Yanni. I do have my headaches aside, too. You guys didn't notice that, did you? I had a headache the whole time. I didn't rant today, but that's because I had people calling in. So, but I don't rant very much. Oliver North. That would be interesting. Anyway, so God bless. Be safe. Enjoy your Saturday evening. If you're in Africa, enjoy your Saturday afternoon here on the East Coast US, and Saturday morning on the West Coast. And if you're in Japan, it's already tomorrow, so enjoy your day there tomorrow. Everybody, take care. We'll catch you next time here on Indaba Africa. And let me just find my closing, because I got all these videos from Giselle in here now. Where is my closing video? Here we go. There it is. All right, got to get this one up here. Yep. Okay, so I'll close out here in a second. All right, folks, take care. God bless, and we'll catch you here next time on Indaba Africa.